Do you guys remember the Cadbury's caramel bunny?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was hot.
What was going on there?
She was just up to no good.
Was she?
She was just a sexy rabbit.
She was very confident.
No one's disputing that, but I guess I keep thinking about the meetings where, like, some salesman is going to stand up in front of Master Cadbury and be like, okay, guys, I've got it. I know how to sell our children's confectionery, and it's with this fucking sexy-ass rabbit.
I can totally see that happening because everyone in that room was a man and sex sells.
Yeah.
And you think they were all like, I love it?
Yeah, they were like, wow, yeah, you're right. That rabbit is fuckable. Let's use her to sell her chocolate.
I'm sure they were all just...
Well, like, what's the deal with Chiquita Banana?
Oh, wow, she's great.
She's the Chiquita Banana woman.
To me, they were probably all low-key furries, but this was in the early 2000s, so there wasn't, like, an established online community, and so they just sort of had to kind of explore it in different ways, and we as a consumer got to witness that.
Are you talking about the original Chiquita Banana woman or the banana that is also a woman?
No, the original one was literally a sexy lady banana in a dress.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at her here, and I gotta say, that's one fuckable banana.
Yep. They gave her makeup and everything. Sex sells. Whether it's a rabbit or a banana.
Okay, how about Mr. Clean?
No, Mr. Clean is hot, but Michelin Man is the hottest.
Oh, Michelin Man knows how to fuck it. He's fucking burning tire all night long, you know what I'm saying?
Definitely. I definitely understand that euphemism.
And like, he smells awful, but that's kind of what you want.
I know, yeah, it's like...
You really, really want to have a shower after him. He's got so many creases and crevices to explore, all these folds for you to kind of like slot.
Fucking hell, Brian.
He's not wrong, and he's curvy in all the right places.
Yeah, there's a lot of body positivity around the Michelin Man.
I mean, I do support that. I don't know if this guy's my thing, but I do have to say those thighs are slapping.
I don't know. I think he'd be fun to wrestle with.
I mean, everyone's fun to wrestle with. Welcome to the Let's Fight a Boss video game podcast, the world's strongest video game podcast, but also your number one source for where you can find the top-ranked confectionery mascots we would most like to sleep with. At number one, the green M&M, our reigning champion.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit obvious, but yes.
She's what, mint flavor?
Or no, she's just chocolate.
She was taking off her shell.
She's just chocolate.
And you know that her face is usually green, but because she had taken off her shell, her face was now chocolate. And I found that very confusing. Like, are the shell clothes?
Do you remember when we went to the M&M shop? We went to the M&M shop in 2013, and I have a photo of us. I might actually put out that photo of us in the M&M shop. But they just had everything themed to M&Ms. Even the bins were of one of the female M&M characters with her mouth open, and you put the trash in. It was just really, really tone deaf.
There was
Good
like
stuff.
A diamond M&M decoration, and I think Kanye West owned it.
Yeah, it cost $10,000. Yeah, that's who owns that.
Sitting to my left, actually, that's not true at all. We're all completely alone. It's the king of confectionery, it's Niamh.
Hello.
And sitting to my right, the sultan of sweet, it's Brian.
You can taste, but you cannot touch.
How?
I want like a gentle dipping of the tongue, but I don't want any tongue grab.
Sweet Jesus. And with you always, it's me, your host, Fake John. John. How's it going, you guys?
I'm having a fucking blast already. This is brilliant. That cannabis tea is really fucking hitting
this
the spot.
episode is already so fucking off the rails. How's quarantine life for you guys?
2 good days in a row, which is a huge success.
Yeah, it's, Waves. It's the new normal.
Yeah, it is.
I think one of the weirdest things for me now is when you Skype with someone and like no one has any news, you know, like no one's life has updated in any kind of meaningful way because we're all stuck in this just like weird kind of pandemic induced just life freeze, and I find that weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it feels like when you were like growing up as a kid and like all your decisions were made for you. So when like someone asks you what you're doing, you're like, I saw Rugrats. Like you've got nothing.
Yeah, totally. Except to consume lots and lots of media. Guys, I watched The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Oh, that film. I like that film.
Oh, I do not like that film.
Oh, I'll bet you do, Brian. That entire movie is like a movie filled with jugheads from Riverdale.
Oh, you betcha. It's got some of the most obnoxious dialogue I've ever heard.
You know what? No, forget that. Forget fucking Perks of Forget Perks of Being a Wallflower. You know what's back? Riverdale Season 4.
How?
It rose from the ashes like a great phoenix. Season 4, obviously the most disappointing series of Riverdale. I was devastated, as everyone was. But now it's back, and it's so fucking weird again, and I'm so happy. There's an underground tickling ring subplot that's been going on for so long. Someone's dressing as the masks of the characters, and then murdering people also in masks of the characters, then videotaping those scenes to the characters. It's good. It's good. Anyway, Perks of Being a Wallflower. Yeah, I found this film incredibly obnoxious, and just the fucking dialogue. Here's a few like select snippets of what shit people say in this movie. Music sounds so much better from a record player. You haven't heard of the Smiths? In that moment, we were infinite.
That's the best part.
That's the quote.
Oh, what? Is that like a famous quote from that movie?
Oh, yeah. People have that tattooed on them.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess like if you're 16 and like a teenager and you're like a little lost feeling, I bet this film's probably pretty fun and pretty cathartic. But I think watching it on the other end for the first time is like,
there's a moment.
This movie coincided with the popularity of Tumblr as well.
Yeah, totally. There's a moment in I'm Not Okay With This where one of the little brat kids is just like, movies are just better on VHS, and the other character is just like, well, that's just not true, but okay. And I really appreciated that.
And it's just, I don't know, it just felt like so insincere when you have this film about like, you know, these outcasts of the school, these like, you know, these kind of meant to be like, you know, troubled kids, and they're all incredibly beautiful, incredibly rich white people, and it just rang so fucking hollow. Like, I love teen coming of age stories, because that's like a kind of junk food movie that I will just watch on a Saturday and I'll be so happy. But man, this didn't do it for me. Brian, you're rewatching Parks and Recreation.
That's the thing. I haven't been rewatching it. I watched a new episode of Parks and Recreation.
But how?
What?
Yeah, so a few days ago, they decided to do a special episode in aid of raising money for COVID-19. And I'm not sure what the charity is. It's an American charity for families, but it's definitely related to current events. And what they did was, it was very clever. It's been 5 years since Parks and Rec ended, and I really, really love that show. I dearly miss it, but it ended on a real nice. And you could tell all the characters love playing, or all the actors love playing those characters. So it was really nice to see them come back and like hit play again and just be those characters. But what they did was, it's done as a screen shared video call. And it's the core cast of Parks and Rec all chatting to each other and checking in on each other and seeing how they're doing. It's sort of thinly veiled. Well, it's really on the nose in some places about just, you know, making sure everyone's doing okay. Because there's a lot of like bullet points they're hitting that sound like it's from like an educational program.
Oh, so it's like kind of PSAE?
Oh my God. It's like an after school special.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. And so... it's very American, let's just say that. But there are a few good jokes in it that made me laugh. My favorite kind of butt of the joke is Jerry, aka Gary, who's now the mayor of Pawnee, and he has some very funny moments in it, which I was pleased to see. Most of the cast are back. Billy Eichner, who played Craig Middlebrook in the last two seasons, he's not in it for some reason. I don't know what that's about. Maybe he had like an actual falling out with the other actors, because he's a very funny guy, but I can also tell that he's probably a very intense person all the time. But like, he was a great addition in the last 2 seasons. So it kind of sucked that he wasn't there. But like, half of it is kind of done as a Skype call or, you know, a Zoom call. But then other parts of it kind of feel like a Tim and Eric sketch where they're just these out of context, made for TV infomercials that are kind of running on daytime television. And one of them is with like Councilman Jam. One of them's with John Ralphio. One's with Joan Calamezzo. Perd Hapley, stuff like that. So it's cool just to see them all do their kind of like 2-minute sketch. And it's a fairly non-offensive episode, all things considered. It doesn't really make a difference to the previous history of the show or anything. It was just a nice little thing they did.
That's cool. I wonder how much of the studio was involved, or was it just the actors themselves, and like how did that all come across, like come to be?
I think they made it. I think they made it in a week. I think they. I read a tiny bit about it because it was like pushed by Michael Schur, the original creator, who just wrapped up on The Good Place. And I think they wrote the script in like a day, gave all the actors their props and, you know, high quality cameras or iPhones or something like that, and they all just shot their bits. And there's a few bits and pieces to kind of like write around stuff, because like some of the actors are like living together, or the characters are living together, so they have to write it in a way that, like, for example, Anne and Chris are together, but because Anne is a nurse, she's self-isolating in a different part of the house.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. So, like, and the same with April and Andy. Like, Andy has locked himself in the shed, so that's why he's not in the same room as April. Just stuff like that, and like, it's all done very clever. And because Nick Offerman is married to Megan Mullally, they have Ron Swanson, but they have Tammy in it as well, which is
amazing.
Pretty funny. So they're really using the limitations to their advantage, which is always great. I really, really like creative solutions to problems like that. But yeah, check it out if you're interested. If you miss Parks and Rec, it's cool that they made this. It wouldn't exist otherwise, which is kind of interesting. It's one of those alternate universe things.
Niamh, you've been watching The Americans.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I've deja vu, because I know I spoke about The Americans before, maybe many years ago when we first started this podcast. But
Oh, you definitely did.
Rewatching season 1 of The Americans. And it's great. I still love that show. It's very good. It's about KGB spies, Russian spies, undercover in America. And they're like deep undercover. They're a married couple with kids, and they're pretending to be like travel agents, and they live across from an FBI agent. It's just so dramatic and very sexy and very good, and I enjoy it a lot.
It's got a good game of cat and mouse to it.
Oh,
it?
yeah,
with
all
their
the time.
Family, the FBI agent family, yeah.
And it does a fun thing as well, like the two spies, Elizabeth and Philip. Usually with these things, it would be, you know, the guy who might be kind of cold and distant, but Philip is a really loving character and a really kind of sensitive and emotionally available character, but it's Elizabeth who's really emotionally cut off and emotionally kind of unavailable all the time. So it's kind of nice to see that kind of that dynamic play out. It's kind of interesting to see, because that's usually would be the reverse. So they're very interesting characters, and in real life they're a married couple, so they've got really good chemistry. That's all I gotta say about The Americans. Love it. Good show. There's a joke on Kimmy Schmidt, and I love it so much, and it just goes, you know, we're in the golden age of television when people sleep on a show as good as The Americans. And I agree.
Brian, tell us about Bad Trip.
Okay, Bad Trip is the new Eric Andre movie that he released, or was released, about a month ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And it is a hidden camera prank movie similar to Borat or Jackass, or a little bit of Nathan For You in there as well. And this is definitely something to watch if you're a fan of the Eric Andre show. If you're not a fan of the Eric Andre show, I do not recommend this film at all, because it is a very bold movie. I would recommend watching it with a glass of wine, because that's the only way you can like handle some of the cringier parts of this, because it is a lot of Eric doing what he does best, where he's just humiliating himself in a public space, and the hidden cameras are just filming live reactions to his absurdist behavior. It's very good.
Was there any specific thing that you really enjoyed? Like any specific prank?
The opening prank really sets up the whole film. It's just him. And like, okay, so like the way the film works, right, is that it's a fictional story with fictional characters. The main character, who's Eric Andre, and I think there's 4 fictional characters in total, but everyone else in it is a genuine human being who doesn't know they're being secretly filmed for a narrative. And it's a road trip with 2 guys going from Florida to New York so that Eric can confess his love to his high school sweetheart. Meanwhile, his best friend's older sister has broken out of prison, and she's on a vengeance trip to try and get her car back because they stole her car for the road trip. And all the scenes are like 5-10 minutes long, and they're all pranks, and they're all seamlessly connected one into the other. It's done very, very organically. But the opening sketch is just Eric as a garage repairman, and he's messing around with the like Hoover to clean out the interior of a car, which is like a very industrial strong Hoover, and he hoovers off all his clothes, and he's just naked, and he has to ask a nearby guy to like lend him his clothes so that he doesn't look like a complete mess. But also then his high school sweetheart shows up, and so he has to like stick to the like lines of the script while also trying to act. And like it's really funny because like it is such a like formulaic Hollywood movie, but acting out in real life. But it's so funny among unsuspecting people because like the people in the pranks are either super compliant or they're really, really like against anything that's going to happen to them because they don't want to be involved in a lawsuit. And most of the sketches are Eric like having awful stuff happen to him, and the general thing people do is that people don't go to ring help. They do take out their phones, but they just take out their phones to film it.
Man, it really says a lot about society.
That's really fun. Oh, it is. It's just a very weird, ridiculous movie. But my favorite character is Tiffany Haddish is in it as the bad older sister, and a lot of her character is just her going into like restaurants and stuff, explaining who she's looking for, and people being like super agreeable, but then she's saying like really nasty, violent stuff, and people are just kind of smiling and going, "Yeah, you should do that. You should kick his fucking ass." And just she's so vulgar and rude, but it's so fucking funny as well. It's a very funny movie.
Yeah, I really enjoy a lot of hidden camera stuff. Sometimes I do feel like there's a weird line with it where I think sometimes it can be like kind of cruel, and I think a lot of like Borat and that stuff goes into that territory, which is I was never really able to get into that. And like I know you're always walking that line, like Nathan For You walks a similar line, but Nathan For You always feels less like directly malicious. Is this along that lines, or what's it like?
There's 1 or 2 bits in this movie that are crueler than others, but for the most part, they seem to walk the line very well of the person who is in on it is taking the brunt of the humiliation, and that the people who are unsuspecting are actually in a very, very safe situation. It's just they're just being played on for a trick, but they're not in any serious danger at all ever. No. But like because there are some fucking wild ass stunts in this movie, because like Eric will do anything to commit to a bit by the looks of it.
Does Eric wear a disguise or anything? Like, I wonder if they'd had to like abandon any of these stunts because someone went, "You're Eric Andre."
For the most part, he just looks like Eric Andre, and I don't know how people don't recognize him. He's definitely picking a part of America. So he goes from Florida to New York, but that's going through both of the Carolinas as well, North and South Carolina. And maybe along those parts of America, he's just not well known by a certain demographic. But like, they never play pranks on a 20-year-old. They're always playing pranks on people over 40. It's a very funny movie, but do bring some wine while you watch it, because, oh my God.
Guys, I watched The Last Dance.
Save the Last Dance.
This is a new Netflix show. No, not Save the Last Dance. The Last Dance. This is a new Netflix show about the Chicago Bulls during like
the basketball documentary series
of their performance, like ability, like in like the mid to late 90s, 97, 98. And I have no frame of reference for like basketball or the Chicago Bulls or Michael Jordan or anything like that. And so it was kind of interesting going into this. And like what I think's cool about this documentary is that it really like it gave me an appreciation for basketball and why people like basketball. And like, look, you know, I don't watch like team sports or anything close to that, and so my only frame of reference for this stuff is it's like a sports anime, and that's exactly what it's like. It's like you have your star player, and like initially it kind of starts off about him, but then one by one, who's, you know, Michael Jordan, and then one by one it starts going into the kind of personality and history of the other team members. And what I think is really cool about this is like a lot of it is very candid. Like I feel like a lot of these athletes are being very open and honest about like these pretty intimate relationships they formed with other players, and it's really compelling. Like even if you have no affinity for the sport, and I've been really enjoying it. Like his kind of number two, the like kind of considered second best player on the Chicago Bulls, is this guy called Scottie Pippen, and Scottie Pippen is like this real, like, just down to earth, loves to play basketball, kind of not as like, I would say like wily as the rest of them. And it's sad because like he ends up getting kind of fucked over by management in some weird ways, but like everyone has so much respect for him. It's also gone into Dennis Rodman a lot. And the only thing I knew about Dennis Rodman before this is that he's friends with the dictator of North Korea, and he went on the Eric Andre show and was like, yeah, I saw his frozen body, though. And like, oh, that, yeah, he seems like a wild dude, and he still seems like a wild dude, but it's really interesting seeing how the other players react to him. Like a big part of his relationship with Michael Jordan is that Michael Jordan understands who he is and understands that like, in order for him to be him and to kind of let loose, he sometimes just needs to like go to Las Vegas for 2 days and just fucking party straight and then come back and train. And it's really interesting watching that understanding form. And it's kind of, I was watching me and Michelle were watching it, and afterwards I was like, Michelle, who's your favorite basketball player? And she was like, Dennis Rodman. And I thought that was really funny. But it's also this really interesting time for the Chicago Bulls because like they had won all these championships, and they were like they were undoubtedly the best team on the planet, but they were also facing this thing from management where management knew that all their best players were starting to age out, and so they were basically trying to bring in new players and train them up, but while the old players were still in their peak. And it created this really amazing like friction between the players and management where the players were like, we're winning every fucking game, just let us do our thing, which like is totally reasonable. But it's great. It really feels like a battle manga sometimes, like especially there's this one team called I think the Detroit Pistons, and basically the Pistons came up with this set of tactics called Jordan rules. So whenever they went up against the Chicago Bulls, they'd treat Michael Jordan completely differently from every other player. And so they'd literally just like launch themselves into him and knock him over and like basically beat the shit out of him the entire game until he kind of lost confidence and was like not confident in making moves and like scared of getting hurt or injured, and just through that demoralizing the whole team. And watching like the Bulls come back from that, and like because it happens to them like 2 years in a row, and it's like they have to build up this mentality about how to overcome this like new threat. And it's fucking great television. I really would recommend it. I think you'd both really enjoy it.
I'm not watching it, but Rebecca is, and she's recounting bits of it to me, and I probably will watch it soon because this seems like my kind of thing. No, I was just gonna say I really like when something you're not related to or not interested in at all makes it relatable to you.
Totally, and like it really does make. Like it does turn it into a narrative that is interesting, like that Detroit Pistons match I was talking about. Like there's a match in Ice Shield 21, the football manga, that is like exactly that same thing, and like I got similar vibes, and it's really great. Niamh, you watched Ink Master.
Ink Master is a reality competition based TV show, much like many other ones, except about tattooing.
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa. So they get a bunch of tattooers, I think 13, maybe 14, and they pit them against each other to become Ink Master. So they have to show skills and like flexibility in tattooing because there's different styles of tattooing, like portraiture, illustrative, and all this stuff. And it's been going for a really long time. It's on season 13.
Okay, that's a long time. That's a big old chunk of time.
Yup, and it's really changed what it is. Like, if you watch the earlier seasons, it is so trashy. Like, they're just people, like they're nearly coming to physical blows, like, just shouting at each other, and the tattooing is kind of shit tier. Like, they're not that great, despite being kind of the best. But if you get up to season 12 and 13 and stuff, they have got, like, everyone's so good and everyone's so talented, and it's like so hard to, you know, pick a favorite kind of thing and who's kind of the best. It's what's the word? It's hosted by Dave Navarro from Jane's Addiction, that band.
Oh my god, yeah, that dude.
That very beautiful man.
He's had some Botox.
Do you think so? Do you don't think it's all? Yeah, he probably has. I don't think he could stay that good looking for this long. But why I bring it up is I was watching season 13 and I was pretty into it, and it got to the last episode for the finale. And what they do for the finale is they basically weed everyone out until there's only 3 top artists left, and then they have to do 2 pieces in their own studios, and then they have to do a live tattooing in front of like a studio audience at the finale. And it's based on... Yeah, I know.
That's so much pressure.
And they don't give a shit about the people getting the tattoos. The people who are getting tattooed on are just called human canvases, and like fuck you. Like they're not the point. Like, they could tattoo garbage on that. And it's just like, it's just not the point, is like caring about the person getting a tattoo, which I always find kind of wild. It's about the artistry of and the skills of the tattooer. But we were at the second last episode and they're like going head to head. They've built up this huge rivalry. They kind of broke it down by like West Coast versus like East Coast kind of thing. It was like a coastal battle, and there was like down to the last 3 people, and they're like, I'm gonna win, and like you're just really pumped to see the finale. Then the last few seconds of the last episode was like, due to COVID-19, we could not do the finale and there is no winner. Everyone got a cash prize. Bye.
Oh, what?
Yeah, and
great.
it was the most anticlimactic thing. Yeah, it was I was like, what? Because like they left in all the build up, the whole like, fuck you, I'm gonna take you down, I'm gonna be the winner. Like, they should have put that at the start of the episode, but they just kept all the build up that they would have had.
So you're going to be going the rest of your life, and those muscles will never unclench. You will never know who this season.
I'll never know who
Ink
Master is.
That's such a scummy producer thing to do, because like they really just want people to watch the show and just bait them along.
Oh, Jesus, that's wild.
And the worst thing about it is, like, they had completed their kind of final tattoos that they had done in their home studios, but they didn't even show those on screen. They were like, to see the final tattoos, go to our Instagram. And it was just like this very clear example of like COVID-19 like affecting this reality TV program, and them just not knowing how to handle it whatsoever, and just like completely tanking what was a pretty good season of reality TV.
Yeah, I remember it's weird seeing that stuff just pop up in everything. I was watching a review for Streets of Rage 4 there, and there was this bit where he was like, it also has 4-player local multiplayer, but I could not test it because of the current isolation and pandemic. Do you guys have any favorite bad tattooing videos?
Oh,
the Tomb Raider one.
I was just going to say the Tomb Raider one is a classic.
Yeah, I think that's that conversation kind of over, because that's the just undisputed king of those videos. I think what I really love about that video is like just the like heavily pregnant pause where he hasn't seen the video and where he hasn't seen the tattoo and his friends aren't saying anything, and it's just, you can feel the despair mount in the room.
It's so great. If no one for some reason hasn't seen this video, we'll link it on our Twitter. But what it is just like the foam wipe off, and the guy is holding, you know, that classic Angelina Jolie promo art from the original Tomb Raider movie. He's holding it up and it's just wipes down his arm, and it's just the most busted face ever.
This will absolutely be on our loot drop. I've taken note of it. It'll be there.
Brian, you have a 90s movie roundup for us.
Yeah, okay. I got 6 films and I'll talk about each of them very quickly.
6 movies?
I'll be real quick. Okay. The 90s was like 30 years ago now. A lot of these movies...
I'll be real quick. The 90s began nearly 30 years ago at the dawn of the...
It's real weird to watch movies from the 90s now because some of them have aged gracefully and others have aged real fucking bad. And it's fun because a lot of the actors in these movies are still acting today. And so it's just real bizarre to see them in completely different kinds of films. So the first one I got is Basic Instinct, directed by Paul Verhoeven, that came out in 1992.
Classic.
It stars Sharon Stone, a classic starring Sharon Stone and I always forget his name. Michael Douglas. I really like Michael Douglas. This is a great sexy thriller, and it's got a lot of infamous scenes to it, and the film still holds up. It's very, very...
what infamous scenes, Brian?
The interrogation scene with Sharon Stone.
Before porn was a thing.
You know how you make that scene even sexier?
What? How?
You get the Chiquita banana.
Oh, hell yeah.
You get the Michelin Man, and you just... Anyway, the movie is still super suspenseful, and I love Paul Verhoeven's movies so much. Everything he made is amazing, and this is one of his best. But I still think my favorite Paul Verhoeven movie is either RoboCop or Starship Troopers or Showgirls.
All classics.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Perfect films. I watched In the Name of the Father, the Jim Sheridan movie that came out in 1993. Did you guys have to watch this in school?
Yeah.
It
was one of the sad movies.
So this is a sad Irish movie, and it's about a real guy played by Daniel Day-Lewis, and he's a young man from Belfast over in London, and it's a wrong place, wrong time, and he is there the night of a bombing in London that was planned by the IRA, and he gets arrested for the bombing despite having nothing to do with it. And it's just about his time in court and in prison, and it's a really tough watch, but fantastic acting.
It's so weird. It's such a tough watch, but like deemed acceptable by schools all over Ireland for, I don't know, people in third year.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually did watch a bunch of Irish films because the other one I watched in was The War of the Buttons, directed by...
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, directed by John Roberts.
On RT, like
that came
all
out
the time, like every Easter.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This film came out in 1984. This is like one of my favorite Irish movies ever. I love this film so much, and I was so happy to watch it again. I think, like, American listeners, if you want to watch Irish movies, like, I do recommend In the Name of the Father and The War of the Buttons. The War of the Buttons in particular is so good. I really, really like movies with, like, kids in it, but they're allowed to swear and say nasty things. I don't like the kids in Barney where they're all, like, pretending to be nice. I want vicious kids threatening each other with knives. But it's just about two small rural Irish towns, and the kids from both towns hate each other's guts, and it's about their fucking, like, battles against each other, which is such a great idea. I watched A Time to Kill, which is directed by Joel Schumacher, came out in 1996. This movie is like To Kill a Mockingbird if it was on cocaine. It is insane. I love Joel Schumacher. His films are fantastic. This movie, it has aged real bad, and it's unfortunate because the cast in it is amazing. It stars a young Matthew McConaughey. It has young Sandra Bullock. Samuel L. Jackson's in it. Kiefer Sutherland's in it. Donald Sutherland's in it. Kevin Spacey, is in it. Who else is in it? Oliver Platt's in it. There's just it's so weird to watch a movie with so many actors in it. one of whom I'm glad is not acting anymore, but there we go. I watched Bound, which is directed by the Wachowskis. This is their first film that was made in 1996. Niamh, I was talking to you about this, asking foolishly, had you seen it? And she was like, yeah.
If you were to Google in the 2000s lesbian movies, it was one of, 8.
Yeah.
So it's a much beloved movie in the LGBT
it's
community.
It's fantastic. It's such a great suspense heist thriller, and it's made super smart as well, where like 90% of the movie is made on a soundstage in one or two apartment buildings adjacent to each other. And it's just about two women, one who's married to a guy in the mafia and the other woman who's just out of prison, and they fall in love and they decide to steal the money from the mafia dudes. And for a good chunk of the movie, the money has already been stolen, but we as an audience know that, but the characters who the mafia guys don't, and so it really builds the suspense super well. The director of photography is also Bill Pope, who went on to do the Matrix movies and the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies as well. So like the movie is so beautifully shot, and there's really cool shots. Or really cool. There's really cool zoom out of like a close up of a gun, and the camera kind of tracks along the gun. But like you could really see like the blueprints of the Matrix in this film. And then my last movie. Oh my god, this movie is so bad. I watched Stigmata, the 1999.
Oh my god, Stigmata
it
sucks
so bad. And like this movie came out in 1999, and it's directed by someone called Rupert Wainwright, who directs music videos, and it fucking feels like a music video because it doesn't know what it is, and it changes every 5 minutes. And it stars Patricia Arquette, who I love, but she's only okay in this movie. She looks so turn of the millennium in this movie. She has like 3 inflatable couches in her apartment. Yeah, and then the priest is played by Gabriel Byrne, who I really don't like at all. He's one of my Irish actors that I just don't like seeing ever. He was the dad in Hereditary, and he's so lame in that film. Compared to everyone else who's like bringing their A game, he's just so nothing. I
don't remember him at all in that movie. There's just like a blank space where the dad's meant to be.
Yeah, he is so boring. I'm not a fan of Gabriel Byrne, and it's just about a woman who gets the stigmata, and she's getting all different phases of it. Start with the bleeding through the wrists and all that, and it's about a Catholic priest / scientist investigating whether this claim is true or not. And I think it's supposed to be kind of like The Exorcist, and it just completely misses the mark on it. But the 1999 aesthetic of the film was very funny, and the editing choices and the music in it is so of its time that was kind of funny, but what a bad film. The 90s was a weird time for movies. That's my story.
I always think it's fun watching 90s movies because like they still feel kind of familiar in a way, even though they were so long ago. But like if I watch something from the 80s, like it's like I was never alive. I don't have any account I was alive, but I just didn't have like memory of that stuff,
Exactly. Yeah, no, like it's so weird to see all the same actors, and like these are all movies I watched when I was like 12, which is way too young to be watching a lot of these movies. But now when you watch them as like an adult, especially like in today's like climate and what, like stuff you can't get away with in movies anymore because they're just products of their time, and these absolutely are.
Yeah, totally. And I think for me personally, like I don't know about you guys, there's been a lot of like comfort in going back to like older shit right now. And I'm not really sure why that is, but like I've been going back and watching a lot of old stuff and really kind of getting a lot out of it. I actually watched the first 5 seasons of The Sopranos. I basically started just as the quarantine did, and me and Michelle have been going through them, and like that show holds up real good. It was like the first Brian, I think you called it prestige television, and it totally was, but it's really interesting watching it sort of become that as well, because like in the first season of Sopranos, it's like things are shot like a TV show. Like it feels very like their house feels very small and the lighting isn't like great. But then as it goes on, you start to see them like use better cameras, more cinematic techniques, and better lighting, and all of a sudden like this show starts feeling like this big budget thing, which I think is really, really cool. But honestly, the main thing that stands out about it to me is just like the performances, just like across the board. Everyone is so fucking good, and like so much of those characters are like these little quiet inflections. Like there's this bit I love where they're talking about this big Italian, I don't know who he was, big Italian celebrity who wasn't actually Italian, and one of them just goes, yeah, like, you know, the way they like, that guy wasn't Italian, and they all kind of nod, but then one of them just like has this quick like puzzled, upset glance down to the left, and it's just, I love shit like that. Really having a blast with it. Tony Soprano is such an interesting character. If you don't know Sopranos, basically it's about this mob boss who suffers from panic attacks, and to alleviate that he starts going to a therapist. And so like it's like him living his life and occasionally like, you know, having to make very difficult decisions and like kill people, and then trying to sort through these issues in therapy, and it's fucking great. One part of it that I think maybe like you did see its age a little bit was in season 3, and for whatever reason I felt like season 3 just took this kind of like sort of just kind of misogynistic turn. Like say Professor or Dr. Melfi, his therapist, they like a big part of the show is how interesting her relationship is with Tony, like how kind of standoffish they are, but how they're also kind of working together, and how she suffers like moral quandaries from helping this guy. But in season 3, like they really turn her into a kind of simpering maid, and it's not great. And there's also like a really full-on scene of like sexual assault, and like and then a separate scene where like a young girl gets beaten to death, and it kind of feels like that early 2000s like shock era television where people were trying to just like put the like craziest shit on TV they could, and I guess like it doesn't really feel that earned, and a lot of it kind of just it's a lot of storytelling tropes that I think is better off left back then. And look, I know people are going to be like, oh, it doesn't fucking matter, whatever. And it's more like, I'm just saying it because if I'm going to recommend it, I want people to know that shit's in there. And I also just want people to know, like, yeah, I'm glad that, you know, people think about this stuff more now than they did then. But like once you get past that, you get into season 4 and 5, which are like some of the best seasons of the entire thing. It's fucking brilliant, and especially like with the female characters, because like they are these female characters trapped in this really like chauvinistic, misogynistic world, and seeing how they come to terms with that, and like especially Carmela and Adriana, like how their storylines go, it's fucking awesome. I'm having such a good time with it.
It's like, it's interesting when you rewatch things in that capacity. Like I remember watching Community in college and being like, that's fine, and rewatching it now and being like,
yeah, actually, Michelle's been rewatching Community, and I've been watching it over her shoulder, and actually I think I did sell that show a bit short. I have actually been quite enjoying it. But also, yeah, there's a lot of like, I'm not gay.
Yeah, the gay jokes in it would be would land a bit better if they had a gay character.
Yeah, totally. Guys, what say we move into our strategy talk? And before we get into strategy talk, just a quick announcement. We've launched a poll on our Twitter at Let's Fight a Boss, which will be done by the time you hear this, of who would win in a sex fight, the Michelin Man, the Chiquita Banana, or the Cadbury's Caramel Bunny. Guys, who are you rooting for in this fight?
Michelin Man.
I gotta go with my girl, the Cadbury's Caramel Bunny. Niamh?
Chiquita Banana.
I mean, I guess we are three sides of a triangle, you know. Each one representative of us in some way.
The bunny's winning at the moment. Chiquita Banana and Michelin Man are 50-50 right now.
Interesting. But the way polls on Twitter always go is you always get like a clear winner, and then people start reacting to the winner and pushing for someone else.
Okay.
Niamh, Resident Evil Resistance.
I've been playing more.
I've been enjoying it a lot. Since we last spoke, I was kind of saying there might need to be some balance changes. Well, they made them, and so far it seems to be an improvement. Capcom have this fun way of doing changes where they don't release any patch notes, so you don't exactly know what has changed. But it seems to be better, especially the time it takes for you to get a game as Mastermind and Survivor. Because at some stages you were up to like 30 minutes to an hour to get a game as Mastermind if you could get one at all. And now people have been able... Yeah, I know. People have been able to hop in like after a 5-minute wait. I'm really enjoying this game. I like it a lot. My Tyrone is nearly rank 50, which means I get my gold outfit, and I'm very excited. I really hope a community builds around it, and I really hope it lasts and goes longer, because they have a plan for content to be released afterwards. Like the next Mastermind is going to be Nikolai from Resident Evil 3 Remake and Resident Evil 3. So I'm excited to see what they do with it, because it's a fun game. I'm just hoping that the community and Capcom will be there for it.
What's it like playing as the Mastermind?
I have never ever done it, so I could not tell you.
I think you only play via cameras, isn't it?
You play via cameras, but you can also take control of individual zombies, and but that means obviously you can't see through your cameras, and you play as the BOWs. So if you launch Mr. X, you play as Mr. X.
So how many BOWs are there?
Each Mastermind has a kind of main BOW, but only 2 of them are playable, and that's Birkin and Mr. X, because the other ones are a giant plant that eats you, but it's stuck in place, and the other one is the electric fence that slices you up.
That's that's a BOW. It's a big biological weapon.
It's a weapon of some degree, but it's quite fun. Spencer gets that one, and really high level Masterminds are usually Spencer, because you unlock them in order. And let me tell you, going up against a good Spencer is very scary.
But like, it's not an organic thing, it's just a room he built.
He can just launch a laser wall and it will kill you instantly.
Do you know, like, if it had like guts, and if it was alive, like a living room that shot lasers at you, that would be fucking terrifying.
The idea of a living room is terrifying in general. It doesn't need the lasers.
With walls that feel like skin,
Yeah.
and they kind of like stretch and contract.
It'd be so good.
Ugh.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm glad you're getting a lot of play out of that, Niamh. And Brian, you played a little bit of that, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I played 2 sessions now with Niamh, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. I don't know if I'm into it as much as Niamh, but it was very satisfying to win a few games.
Cool, good stuff.
And Niamh is a very good team lead on it. She'll tell you where to go and what's next, and you go yes, and you do it.
Yes.
Brian, you've been playing more Super Mario Maker 2.
Yes, they announced a DLC for it, a big DLC, and it's really changed a lot of the courses people are making. They're fantastic. There's a lot of new abilities and power-ups, and they've added extra kind of abilities to these power-ups. One of the more interesting ones is the frog suit Mario, which is a very classic power suit. That's from Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yeah.
They've added it now so that if you're Frog Mario, you can run on water.
Interesting.
And so that in itself has made up a lot of very fun levels where you need to have that ability to clear the level, and if you lose the ability, then you can't beat the level. So you have to get through the level without taking any damage. So that kind of stuff's a lot of fun. They've also added in the mushroom from Super Mario Bros. 2, so that allows you to pick up stuff. Just like in Super Mario Bros. 2. But the mushroom also reacts to Mario in a weird way. If Mario jumps, the mushroom jumps, I think. So people have figured out how to make a device that triggers the mushroom to flick a switch on and off. So you know those Mario 3D World levels where you would jump and the platforms would turn on or off depending on your jump?
Yeah, I love those levels.
They're now able to make those levels in Mario Maker, and I think that's really cool, where people use the power-ups and tools in very strange ways. I remember a couple months back someone made a working calculator in the game just using the items. And it's a very slow calculator, but it does actually correctly add up the numbers every single time.
That's cool. I love stuff like that.
Yeah. The only kind of downside with Mario Maker 2 is that they've hidden the ability for you to kind of like pull a level that you like and open it up and see how it works. They don't want that in it anymore because they don't want people like stealing a level and getting more likes from the original maker, which is fair. So it's really kind of strange to like figure out how certain levels are made. Then the other big update they did as well is they added in a overworld editor, and that's a lot of fun too, where people will build a world with 4 levels, but they'll kind of build a certain theme into it. There's a great one where someone made it's Mario climbing a mountain, and you know you've got your first like 200 meters, and then you've got like your 500 meter mark, and then you get up to the kilometer mark where it gets more and more tougher as you climb up the mountain, and then it's got levels where you're going downhill off the mountain, and it's got a real narrative to it, which is really cool. So people are definitely like exploring Mario levels and breaking them apart as much as possible, and it's real fun to play. I'm playing like maybe an hour or two every day of this game, and I'm experiencing new stuff I hadn't seen the day before.
Cool. Guys, I've been playing Streets of Rage 4.
This just came out, didn't it?
Just came out, yeah.
Whoa.
I think I'm on like the last level of it. And
is it short, or are you just very good?
Well, I think both can be true, Niamh.
As a gamer,
you know, as the hardcore gamer of this podcast, I am. Okay, so the scrolling beat 'em up, like, it's always in this weird fucking space because like it was a genre that like really thrived on old arcades, and since then it's had a really rough go of like how does it integrate into more modern consoles, because in a lot of cases, you know, these games were designed to be beaten in like an hour and a half. And so I've always been interested, like, how do you fix that problem? How do you keep it relevant for more than that? And I think one of my favorite cases of people making like what felt like an actual fully rounded game out of it was oh Jesus Christ, completely blanking.
River City Girls, yeah, from last year. I really love that game, and I liked it a lot because like it did try stuff with like, you know, trying to make the story more interesting, like trying to have funnier writing, trying to build like a more coherent world. And I really bought into that a lot. Like, definitely, you know, not a game for everyone, but it was really my thing. And Streets of Rage 4 is way more old school than that. This is a Streets of Rage game exactly like you remember it. It's like you fight your way through the streets. There's like little cutscenes in between levels, but like the plot is razor thin. Like it is just there to pull you from one location to another. And I think the old school aspect of this game is both its strength and its weakness. It did absolutely hit a lot of those old Streets of Rage vibes for me. You know, like it really does feel like those games, and there's a real appreciation for what made those games fun. Like there's a big emphasis on like how do you control a group of a large group of enemies? How do you handle space in a way that means these characters are stun locked while you're doing damage to these characters, and like making sure that this is okay? And how do you use every tool in your arsenal to do that? And I'm really enjoying that aspect of it. I think nowadays the two old characters from it are Blaze and the dude with blonde hair from Streets of Rage, whatever his name is. And they're the Blondie, yeah, that's it. That's definitely it. They're like the kind of they're two of the 4 characters you start out with, and like they're fun, but like their movesets are exactly like you remember, and I think they nearly feel a little dull because they are just so basic. But then the other 2 characters is Isaiah, who is this just giant dude with metal arms, and my favorite character, Cherry Puncher.
And she is this cool little girl with an electric guitar, and her design is really, really cool. Like, it's really fun, and I love her because they basically gave her all the weird shit. You can, like, run, you can, like, stamp on people's heads, and, like, Chun-Li bounce all over the place, and, like, play solos with your guitar to do moves and stuff, and she's so good, and I think she really has like a kind of high velocity gameplay style where you're like darting all over the screen that kind of makes the other characters feel a little more dated, and I think I would have liked if they could have updated their move rosters more. Do you know what I mean?
Just that they have the same variety as she does.
Yeah, totally, because I felt like I was finding weird little tactics with her all the way through, whereas the others, they just felt a little flat, but like they're still fun to play as. I just felt like Cherry's gameplay was more of an evolution.
And they feel stale.
Yeah, totally. And like I've played a lot of Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage 2 is one of my favorite games. Streets of Rage Remix is like maybe the best scrolling beat 'em up for me. And I really like it. It's got a really nice art style, and it's got like some fucking awesome character designs. You guys should look up Estelle, the boss from it. She's like this SWAT team cop with like a really cool braid, and she's like just the best design in the whole game. She's so sick. And a lot
she looks like trouble.
Yeah, she is. And a lot of the just new enemies and stuff feel really interesting, and like just there's like a lot of like even like there's a lot of new female characters, and there's a lot of different like body types and stuff in there, and there's also just like a really like diverse group. Like it just feels like there's all these different kinds of characters, and they're all beating the shit out of each other, and it's great. I do wish like a little more presentation had gone into the cutscenes, because the cutscenes are beautifully drawn. Like if you watch the opening intro, the art style is so strong, and like the illustration is so strong, but a lot of the time they try and present the story with these like comic book style panels. You know that kind of way.
Yeah.
But the problem is like when a new panel comes on screen, it'll literally just pop into existence. You know what I mean? Whereas I think you've seen a lot of other games, like especially like something like River City Girls, like really have fun with how a comic book page is presented. Like whether you're either moving a camera across a massive page, or you're like sliding them in and animating the panels and stuff, and it feels very barren because of that.
It's lacking a finesse with the motion graphics.
100%. That's exactly it. And it's a shame, because the illustrations themselves are beautiful. Like they look really, really good. And I think like overall, I'm having a really good time with this game. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to beat it, and then I'm probably going to play it on hard mode with my cousin, because I think like if you want to get longevity from the game, it's probably with another person. I would say like the reason I liked River City Girls so much was because it did kind of expand my idea of what a scrolling concept could be, and I think like it wasn't perfect, but it did kind of answer some like questions about how you stretch a game like that out to like 6 to 8 hours and keep it meaningful. And if anything, Streets of Rage 4 is maybe a bit of a disappointment for me, because it doesn't do that. It's just an old school beat 'em up. That said, it's good. I think like stuff like maybe upgradable skills or skill trees, learning new moves, leveling up, I think it really could use a system like that, because like your character's your character and that's it. And compared to some modern beat 'em ups like Fighting Fury as well, I think is the name of that other one I played a couple of years ago that I really liked.
Fight and Rage,
Fight and Rage, that's it.
Yeah.
It just feels a little flat compared to stuff like that, and so like that's why I say like the old school aspect of this game, it's strength, and it's also it's kind of like negative points. Unfortunately, they weren't really able to get the original composer for many songs. I'm not sure he has many in it, and like Streets of Rage, like just play the theme to Streets of Rage 2. That is one of the greatest songs in games history. And the new soundtrack, it's like not to be dismissive of the musicians, it does just sound a bit like they went to like OC Remix and picked some random artists and had them do the soundtrack. I don't really feel like there's that much skill or heart to the soundtrack, even though I can feel it's going for the same kind of aesthetic. Do you know what I mean? And that's a bit of a disappointment. But that said, there are a few good tracks in there, and like when they kick in, they're really good. Overall, Streets of Rage 4 is cool. If you have nostalgia for Streets of Rage, it's a good game to pick up, and it's fun to play, especially if you're just looking for a couple of hours to kill. I do think maybe paying €20, 22, or I think the main price is $25. That feels a little steep at the moment, but unless you're all in, this would be a good one to get, like maybe on a sale or something like that. That's my Streets of Rage 4 review.
That's all fair.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. Like I like it for what it is, for sure. Brian, Dead Space.
Dead Space, yeah. I'm replaying Dead Space, I replayed Dead Space. After beating Resident Evil 5, I was still craving that survival action horror itch. And so I played Dead Space again, and that game came out in 2008, which is 12 years ago now, and it still looks really good. I'm really impressed with how well it's aged. For those of you that haven't played Dead Space, it's a third-person action horror survival game where you play as a guy called Isaac on you and a few other engineers show up on a small spaceship onto this big giant space shuttle called the Ishimura, and you're there to find out what happened to your wife, but on a bigger scale you're finding out what happened to the crew, and the crew have become this alien zombie virus hybrid thing called the Necromorph, and you have to explore the ship and make sure to contain the virus. So I guess it's like a mix of Event Horizon, that film, which I love, meets The Thing, meets kind of just general zombie movies itself. This game still plays real good. Like, to control the main character Isaac still feels real nice. And I know this game was made by Visceral Games before they were called Visceral, and it was made as a response to Resident Evil 4. And it came out around the same time as Resident Evil 5. And Dead Space and Resident Evil 5 both have strengths and weaknesses. I think Resident Evil 5 is very funny, but I think in terms of control and atmosphere, I think Dead Space is a lot more successful. But then my biggest flaw with Dead Space is that it really lacks character. The main character, Isaac, is just some dude in a boiler suit. Doesn't talk at all. His reason for there is to find out what happened to his wife. There isn't that much of a backstory there. There's some stuff there, but it's kind of lackluster. Like, in terms of story, it kind of feels like a PS1 game, but then it looks like a later a PS3 game, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I remember that was my feeling always with Dead Space as well. Is it still scary, Brian?
It's scary at the start, but like it's real easy to control, and I think like the controls are so familiar now because of other games. It's not scary because you're always in control of the situation, and I died a couple times, but I know I died just because I messed up. I didn't die because I was panicked or under pressure, let's say. But I do think the atmosphere is still super good, and like the game's only in 720p because I know a lot of PS3, Xbox 360 games from that era weren't in full 1080p unless they were like, you know, an indie game that was like very limited visuals. But I know a lot of the bigger budget AAA games are only at 720p, but like the game still looks amazing. Like it's aged real good. I was really impressed with it. Like the lighting and everything is fantastic in it. The game is pretty smartly made as well in that there's a lot of reuse in it where you're like revisiting locations. And I forgot about the cult stuff is in the first game because it's really, really pushing the second game. And I love Dead Space 2. I think that's like my favorite game from that generation. Just because I think it has a good balance of like atmosphere and character. But I do think like this game definitely nails the atmosphere. It just really lacks character.
Yeah, I definitely remember getting to the end of that, and like when like a lot of the wife stuff started tying back into it, I just kind of felt like, but I don't care. Like I don't know this person. It's not compelling at all. And the main character isn't anything like it to me. Like it's not even a character that you could role play in any capacity. And at the very end of the game, he takes off his helmet and it's just some dude, and you're like, cool, whatever. And then it's got like a little jump scare at the end. It definitely feels like a horror movie from that era as well. But then like there is a lot of great stuff about it as well. I'm probably going to play Dead Space 2 very soon, and I can't wait to play that game again
because that came out in 2011 in January, I think. So that game's nearly 10 years old as well. But I remember that had a great mixture of like, and I love like religious cult stuff as the villain, and I think it's really funny that it's like a science fiction religious cult. I think that's such a good angle to go with the I can't remember what they're called.
Is it the Unitarians?
Unitarians, and they worship a weird marker, and the marker is really cool, and the marker is the thing that makes you hallucinate, and some people are just reacting very positively to it, but most people react violently, and that's what's causing like them to transform into these necromorphs. And I really like the idea that like the way you dismember the way you fight the enemies is dismembering their limbs. So headshots are great and all, but they don't really make a difference. And so it does have this kind of arcade shooter feel to it. So like it does feel disposable in places, but then feels a bit more grounded in others. But I very much enjoyed replaying this game.
Cool. Good stuff. Guys, we all played A Summer's End Hong Kong 1986.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Niamh, how'd you feel about this game?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was sweet. I think it's if for people who don't know, this is a visual novel that we've all played for some unknown reason.
It's also interactive, because some visual novels you're just pressing spacebar, but with this it gives you some choices. Yeah,
this one has some choices. So this is a lesbian visual novel set in 1980s China. And I had a great time with this. I played it with my girlfriend. She voiced one of the characters and I voiced one of the others. So it was a fun time.
Did you voice Sam or Michelle?
Sam.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Sam's so cool.
That's the way that should go.
Yeah. I really, really like this game as well. I played it in like one sitting in 4 hours, and I had a good time.
Its aesthetic is just very on point. Like, the drawings are really nice, and
the visual and music are just 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, it's because it's set in the 80s, like, they're really doing that. And a lot of the plot points, like, is around kind of old technology and video stores, and they really play up to that aesthetic quite a lot.
The bit where Sam shows off her Walkman, her cassette Walkman, I have the same one.
I literally thought the same thing when it popped up on screen. I was like, Brian has that.
Yeah, I actually took a photo of it besides the one in the game because I was very happy.
That's really fun.
Yeah. I thought the writing was, for the most part, very good. There was one or two oofs for me, but I did like the story. It's better than a lot of movies I've seen this year.
Yeah, it's better than a lot of, like, even visual novels I've kind of dabbled in. You know, I was engaged with it. Yeah,
absolutely. And definitely the high parts make it, and you are like you are really clicking to know what happens next. There were some dialogue choices. Like, I love Sam; she's fantastic. I thought Michelle, the character you mainly play as in the game, she's okay. I wasn't as interested in her as I was as Sam. It's definitely Sam's story in some ways.
I think Michelle, just even as a character, she's meant to be like such a wet blanket. Like, for the entirety we were playing it, we're just like, oh Jesus, girl, your life is so boring. Like, do something for yourself. Like, she's just really like, I am an office woman and that is what my aspirations are. Like, she thinks it's really wacky that someone would buy fish food.
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. I was kind of disappointed when the game ended because I thought there would be like maybe another hour to it. But I also do like the ending. I think the ending is really cute and sweet. But I guess maybe that's a sign that I enjoyed what I played and I wanted more of it.
Yeah, I'd always rather feel like that than like fucking come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I thought this was a nice game. I've been listening to the soundtrack all week because it's so good.
Soundtrack is good, and I like how like they spend a lot of time referencing like Chinese like musical artists from that time period. So I spent a lot of time Googling their names and having a listen to their music, because there's like, you know, they make a distinction between early on about how Michelle mostly listens to Mandarin folk. But then, oh, wait, she actually likes this Cantonese singer who's a little bit more edgy. And like that was kind of a little window into her personality in a way. And I obviously don't know these artists just by name. So Googling them and even looking at their different aesthetics and kind of seeing that as being kind of a context clue for Sam, nearly to be like, oh, this girl has a bit more going on with her, you know, was interesting.
Yeah, it really seems like the two people who made it, Oracle and Bone, did their research on what people would have listened to at that time.
What's the deal with Oracle and Bone, Brian? Because I looked them up and they're Vancouver, and I was like, is there like, are they Chinese? Like, because it feels really grounded in.
I think one of them. I think they're both Canadian, but I think they might be second generation.
Ah, okay.
I think their parents might be from Hong Kong, or one of them is. I kind of get the feeling that they are people, but they want to keep themselves to a private matter.
Yeah, it's super hard to find anything about the studio.
I mean, I totally respect that. Like, yeah,
and like the way the game ends, it does kind of have their like creative statement at the end, and that's kind of just, this is how we feel. We don't need to talk about it.
Yeah.
So I'm about an hour into the game. I think you've both finished it.
Yeah.
And there's parts of it I like, but I would say like it's not really grabbing me too much either. A lot of the writing I feel like is kind of, it's like a little pedestrian, and it feels like kind of a lot of visual novels I have played. Will things like improve, or do you think like this is just maybe not my thing?
This is very much a visual novel. Like, you know, I don't think it's reinventing the genre. I don't think it's going to come out with any, like, I never found the writing, like, I was like, wow, that's really interesting. You know, I never got to that point with it. I was very much like, I am playing a visual novel and it just happens to have a very rocking aesthetic.
Yeah. And like the aesthetic I do like. I think the full page portrait stuff they do, when it's just like they show you a scene from the world itself, some of those are like really stunning. Like there's one I got to recently, and I think it's like after the first time you meet Sam, and Michelle just like climbs into the taxi cab, and you can see like all the neon signs reflected in the window, and like kind of like the light falling onto her. It's really like beautiful. And I just got into Michelle's store as well, and there's the like clip or Sam's store, and there's like the image of Sam looking at you from across the store while reading a book, and I love little bits like that. I'm not mad about the character portraits, which is unfortunate because you spend most of the game looking at them.
They get some good outfit changes later on. There's a bit where you go clothes shopping.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be fun. Yeah, because like I am interested in seeing like the fashion and stuff. And I think I'm probably a little less into the soundtrack than you are, Brian. I think a lot of it for me sounds like stuff I'd skip in my Spotify Discover.
Oh, this is Brian music right now, right here, right now. And like the music is all like from the last 2 or 3 years as well. Like, but that's just meant to sound like 80s synth.
The very first song they play in it has this beeping in the background that I thought was the text beeping. You know the way sometimes visual novels have a kind of as the text appears on screen. It has something like that in the background of the song that was so distractingly weird to me, because I could not place it, because sometimes it was in time with my text and other times it wasn't, and I was like, is this just part of the track? Anyway, a bit of a weird complaint, but it really stood out to me as something that was kind of distracting me from the dialogue.
It's got some minor goofs, like, you know the bit where they go clothes shopping. For me, that background is too big, so they're standing beside some shoes, but the shoes are huge.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah, there's a few background issues with like perspective as well, but like I think the coloring and the lighting of the backgrounds kind of, and what they do with it, like the first time you come home late to your mom and the background of the house is much darker and all the sound cuts out and stuff. Like they use them to good effect, but sometimes they're a bit off in scale and perspective.
I think it's a thing where like the art direction of a lot of the backgrounds is so strong that like for me it kind of let me overlook some of the sort of, I'd say, weaker drawing in the backgrounds. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
because there's some drawings where it's like, I feel like if you reduce this to line work, it really wouldn't stand out at all. But then like when you see how light falls on this scene, it is like pretty evocative, and like it does capture a kind of emotion. And I feel like if the writing matched that, like that level of aesthetic, I think it would genuinely be really like, I would be very engaged. But I'm kind of on the fence right now, but I am happy you guys had a good time with it.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I really like that it's got a patch, so you can add in, you know, the over 18 stuff into it if you want, and even the over 18 stuff isn't anything like crazy intense. It's more sensual than sexual, I guess.
I love that you said the word sensual.
It is, though.
I know, it's just true. I just like.
But we
like
just have
you
a history
it.
with that. We had a history. Have a history on this podcast with that word.
Oh yeah.
Sensual.
I can't remember what
I really
was.
like
I think Niamh once
John.
referred to the podcast as sensual, and we had to stop and be like, "What?"
Do you know what? I really like the word, John. Allow me to palpate this conversation lightly. Let me just brush off it in a very candorous manner. Just let that sink in, everyone.
Final thoughts on Summer's End, Hong Kong 1986. You guys seem to dig it.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite games this year.
Yeah, a really solid visual novel. If you like that genre, just go for it.
Yeah, no, do. Try and play in a one sitting if you can, or two sittings if possible.
Okay. Niamh, you have been playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Okay, yeah, I have. Are we going to do a thing where you're just going to let me talk and then you can talk?
Well, we can do it the other way around, but I think I'm going to go for a bit.
Okay, yeah, I kind of figured.
Whatever you want to do. Like you go for it, or whatever you want.
No, I agree. I'm just gonna do my bit, and then you can
do
go
your thing.
Full hog. So I not finished it, but I presume I'm near the end. I am still in the train graveyard.
Niamh, you have so much to go.
I find this game so boring. Like, I'm so bored by it. It's unreal. But okay, here's what I feel. Second part of the game, I am enjoying it much more than the first part. I thought the first part with Jessie was just honest to God insufferable. I really hate her character writing, and she's kind of gone now, so that's fantastic. So I don't have to deal with her. I honestly think the character writing for me is just painfully juvenile. Like, just, I don't think they've done anything to add further character to these characters. They just say more stuff, and it's all in service of waifu shit. Like, I really think the main plot of this game has been sidelined to just nothing really. I think it's so void of anything interesting character or narrative wise, and it's just, I find it hard to get from like cutscene to cutscene. And I find it hard to get from cutscene to cutscene because the side quests in between those moments are just abysmal. Like, I think they're so boring. They don't take those as opportunities to do interesting character writing. But what's worse about them is they just completely grind down any sense of urgency. Because how they're presented to you is always in a in-between gap of a moment of urgency. So, for example, you need to rescue Tifa. It takes you like 6 hours to go and rescue Tifa because you have to go hang out in a coliseum. You have to go, like, just do side quests where you're looking for people puking in toilets, and they're never interesting side quests. So you have all these time-sensitive things that you have to do, and this is how they're always broken.
Dude, you have not encountered the worst instance of that, like, by a million miles. Like, there's something so much worse later in the game.
I just don't understand it, because, like, you can put in side quests in a game. Like, they've always been in Final Fantasy, but they kind of give you a moment where there's a bit of downtime where it kind of makes sense for these to exist in. But it's just like, you really, like, you do feel the padding in this game. Like, people say you don't, but I fucking sure as hell am, because these side quests just, they offer nothing to me. Like, I'm not going to come out of this game being like, oh, I really love that one side quest with that one interesting character. Like, they're all just boring, like, time wasters just to pad shit out. And I just don't I don't get it, like, why they're there. They're so mundane, and they just make they make the main plot seem so less important.
At some point, I really feel like Square were like, if we don't make this at least 30 hours, people are going to get annoyed.
I would have rather this was 15 hours if this is the solution to it, because I don't get it. I don't like the dungeons either. I think they always go on for like half an hour to an hour too long. And it is, honest to God, copy-pasted rooms. Like, you're running along the same, like, the sewers sucked so much.
But, like, I feel like I've kind of gone on this rant a couple of times on this podcast, but I never fucking understand a bunch of game designers standing in a room and one of them being like, let's put a sewer level in now.
Even like the sewer sucked, but it's like, just like, even the bit where you were like the sun lamps, just copy pasted rooms, and like it would be fine for the like half an hour to an hour, but they always just overstay their welcome just a little bit. And you're just like, oh, okay, are we nearly done? And again, because of that time-sensitive aspect, you're always told that you're nearly at this thing you have to do, but then it's an hour later, and it's just this constant, like, just dragging content that's really thin content, just dragged over hours. I don't think the enemies are varied enough. Like, I really enjoy the combat, but 20 hours in, and I'm still fighting those were-rats. Like, that sucks.
And one thing that's strange is there's actually a lot of really interesting enemies hidden in like late game side quests, and I kind of feel like, oh,
yeah, like Tom Berry.
Yeah, like I was kind of like you. I was kind of hurting for some variety, and it's a bit puzzling to me. Like, you don't just implement them into the main game.
Yeah, like I think I fought a sweeper maybe 6 times as a mid boss. And I thought it was just so disappointing that for your kind of last fight in the Colosseum, before your actual last fight, that it was 2 fucking sweepers. And I was like, this is a Colosseum. You could have like made it something interesting or cool. And I thought with the first fight where it was a guy with 2 dogs, I was just like, okay, we're going to get a bit of character stuff with these like these fights. But it was just like, here's another sweeper. And it's like, oh, okay, like, fine. The combat I still enjoy, but I don't think the game utilizes it well, because and I think this is a problem 13 had, where you spend the first half of the game without a full party. You're like going from pairs. So you're like Cloud and Barrett, Cloud and Tifa, Cloud and Aerith, sometimes Cloud, Tifa and Barrett, or Cloud, Tifa and Aerith. But you never get that full party composition where you can really kind of explore that combat with a full party without it switching out in some way. So while I'm still enjoying it, I'm kind of like, I've never felt like I get to explore it in the full way while in the main game. Like, I'm sure end game there'll be loads of stuff to do or whatever to kind of feel that combat out, but it's just,
you're at the point where like that, like, you're about to get that, but I felt that frustration as well, like in those opening sections. And like when you look at the original, I get that, like,
but it's not opening sections. Like it's still 30 hours in, and I'm still like being like, give me my full party composition.
You're not 30 hours in, are you?
And they're really like maybe 25 to 30.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting, because like I was at the last boss where you are, in 30
okay,
hours.
I'm probably 25 and not 30, but I don't know, but what I'm saying is it's like more than half the game is without a full party.
Yeah, and I think the problem there comes from stretching the original out, because that was the case with the original game, but in the original game you're talking like 4 or 5 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's the problem. All these moments that I'm really enjoying are the ones from the original game, and the bits that I just think are boring and tacked on is the stuff that is new and tacked on, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's nice to see like these classic characters and have these moments with the full force of modern gaming behind them. But the narrative padding is just, it feels like to the detriment of this whole thing. Like, I don't like what they've done with some of the characters. It looks great sometimes, this game. It looks amazing sometimes, but looks absolute dog shit other times. And there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like, the flowers in Aerith Garden are meant to be such a big plot point and just like a big kind of emotional point, and the textures are just so low on them all the time. You're just like, okay. But I think the external design, environmental design, is beautiful. So if you look around, you'll see as you look up and you see the plate and you kind of see the buildings, you see Aerith's big church, you see nice big background images, but the internal design of different environments is so bad. It has that Final Fantasy 15 problem to me, where it's just asset drops, where you see the same assets from the start of the game to the end of the game. There's one bottle of orange bleach that I see in every single room in this game, and it drives me nuts. And there's a framed portrait in Aerith's house that's just everywhere around the town. Like, it's just like there's no real care given to the internals. Like, the old folks' home is just like a bunch of benches. It's just the same kind of copy-paste design aesthetic. And I think that's a pity when the external environments can look so nice and look so character-driven, and then the internals are just like kind of lame. I'm just like, I don't know. The story sucks to me. I'm really disappointed with the character writing and just how the female characters are written, and just how much of a focus there is on the waifu shit. Like, dropping into the sewers, and your big concern when you dropped into a sewers, where the implication is that this is where Don Corneo drops women after whatever he does with them, in so they could be eaten by his pet monster. The big concern for you as a player is you stand up and it's like, well, are you going to walk over to Tifa or are you going to walk over to Aerith?
Niamh, you gotta pick one.
I was like, I don't know. I'm concerned about both of them because they're meant to be both his friends. But no, the game doesn't want you to do that. And you know what I did? I ran around the entire room and I tried to go out the door without picking one, but the game was like, no, you will pick one. And it just sucks. I really hate that it's just like, which girl? And it's like, why can't they be a party? Why can't this be about a group of people? It's just about, no, which girl do you want to fuck consistently? And I really think the environmentalist story and the kind of main narrative scenario has just been pushed to the side. And just this kind of really juvenile, shitty writing is at the forefront. And I'm like, ugh, I'm just so done with it. I'm just going to finish it out of principle, but I just, like, I don't know. Like, Final Fantasy VII isn't my favorite of the Final Fantasies, so I don't really have a lot of nostalgia for these characters. But I am disappointed as a Final Fantasy fan. Just, like, I'm not into it at all. And I don't know. Roll on, bravely, default to.
Niamh, I'm hearing you're pretty into this game.
I felt like I got my rant out of the way because, like, you can go have yours, go for it.
What way do you think this rant is going, Niamh, out of curiosity? I don't know. I think you probably mostly like it, but maybe you're confused because you do have a personal connection to these characters. And I think the people who like these characters are getting so much more out of it because it's nice to see these moments recreated so beautifully. Like, the characters look gorgeous and really nice. And I think that is really hitting the right emotional beats for a lot of fans. Like, I'm sure if I saw Squall rendered like this, I'd be delighted, but also if I saw Renoa written like this, I would be pissed because Renoa is better than this. But yeah, so I don't know. I think you're mixed. So our experiences with the game have definitely been very different, for sure. I spent a lot of the first 20 hours of this game honestly kind of enraptured. Like, this is some of the most into a game I've been, like, for a long time. And there's some of that stuff that really carried all the way through to me. I love the combat. I absolutely adore the combat in this. And throughout the entire game, I felt like I was understanding the systems better. I felt like I was implementing new strategies and figuring out new ways I could do things in a way that, like honestly, right up until the last boss fight, I was still realizing, wait a minute, if I activate this skill and combine it with this spell, I can do this, and that means that this character will be able to draw aggro. And more than that, like, at the start of the game, I liked playing as Cloud so much, I was like, I'm probably going to just stick with playing as Cloud the entire game. But as it went on, there was different points throughout the game where each character, each of the 4 playable characters, all became like the cornerstones of my strategy for different sections of the game. And like, unraveling that was so satisfying and so fun. So the point that I'd say, like, for me, this is my favorite combat RPG system ever. Like, more so than Final Fantasy VII Original. Like, I think it's just amazing what they've done. And a lot of what I loved about this game, I think, was because I did just always look forward to the fights. You are absolutely right about dungeons lasting too long and about enemy reuse. And I think I would have had a much tougher time with that if I didn't get so much out of the combat. I think, like, with the waifu shit, I absolutely agree that they lean way, way too hard into it. I didn't find it, like, as egregious as you did for kind of, obvious reasons. But that said, I think some of it that I didn't like is, like, I actually did like Jessie throughout it, and, like, I get it, like, she's aimed at me, like, I understand that. But there was moments where, like, I really feel like chances to build up, like, a genuine emotional connection with that character were really squandered. And particularly in, like, how will I put this? On the infamous tower scene with Jessie, I feel like there's moments where she like talks in a waifu way that really robbed what was happening of any drama, and it should have been a very emotional scene, and it fell so flat for me. And that was frustrating because I did enjoy that character, and seeing them go out like that just it kind of broke any interest I had in her. I really loved Wall Market in general. I had such a great time for that entire section. It's interesting though, because I feel like, the big part about Wall Market is that, like, Cloud and Aerith go there, and in the original, Wall Market is like this dingy little hole. It's this just squalid back alley place. But in the new game, it feels like somewhere I'd actually like to hang out and be. And then as you're there, Cloud and Aerith get swept up in this big adventure. And, like, it's fun. Like, I found it really fun. And, like, the boss fight with the Hell House, I was so sure they were never going to put Hell House in this game. There was no way they were going to put an enemy that goofy in. And then when they did it, and then when they did what they did with it, where it's a 3-stage multi-tiered boss fight, I fucking love that. And, like, there's an announcer, and, like, he's announcing your moves. He'll even, like, do a big wrestling promo about the summons you summon. Like, he'll talk about Shiva or Ifrit and all this kind of stuff. And it's just this, like, it's in those moments where, like, it's kind of like you were saying, Niamh, about it meaning a lot seeing those instances recreated with the power of modern games. And that's absolutely what it is. And in those moments, I'm in, like, fucking ecstasy with this game. Like, I absolutely just loved it. But one thing that I think is kind of interesting about the Wall Market section is, in the original game, Wall Market is really a moment where Aerith looks at Cloud and she takes him and she completely, like, manipulates him in a way to peel back his tough guy demeanor. And he's meant to be this tough guy, and then, like, she really, like, emasculates him by, like, concocting this scheme where he has to dress up. And she's having fun doing that, and it's, like, her way of kind of, like, dismantling Cloud's walls a little bit. And I think that's a really integral part of their relationship. In the new game, it's not that at all. It's Aerith and Cloud together being swept up in this madcap night out. And it was a lot of fun, but I also think it was a lot less emotional and a lot less poignant, which I did find disappointing, because it felt less like a real meaningful communication with these two characters and more just like a bit of fun, you know what I mean? Now, I didn't mind, because I thought it was like a pretty okay trade-off, because while you did lose that, like, intimacy between the characters, you did get, like, the big crazy dance number and the Hell House fight and all that kind of stuff, and I was into that. And so, like, for me, that's kind of like, it's an okay trade-off. I mean, I still miss, I don't think it needed to be a trade-off, but, like, it wasn't, like, the biggest killer, because that it did end up being my favorite part of the game. But it did bring up this problem I do have with the game, where, like, there's more storytelling, but it's not better storytelling. Like, Eris became the observer in that circumstance and not the instigator, and to me, that's a huge fucking difference. So then anyway, that was really the high points of the game for me, even though like I do like, and that's like, honestly, it's more of a observation than a criticism. But the problem then is I feel like I really loved the first 20 hours of this game, like to the point that I was like, this is the most into a game I've been since like Yakuza 0. And I was like, this is like a complete runaway for my game of the year. I was really, really enjoying it. The problem though is I feel like after Wall Market, the issues I did have with the game really compound. And there's a point here where I'm gonna have to get into spoilers, because I have to talk about everything. Like I've been keeping this inside for a couple of days and I need to just get into everything, but I'll give people a spoiler warning. But my general problem is that I guess a lot of the issues you had with the game, Niamh, where like dungeons running on too long, enemy reuse, all that kind of stuff, that compounds so hard in its last third. I feel like the pacing hits a fucking wall. You're about to get into a lot of parts that aren't in the original game, and so many of them just didn't feel like they added anything and didn't feel meaningful, or what they did add just wasn't worth it. Like, do you know Leslie, the bodyguard of the door bodyguard of Don Corneo's mansion?
Yeah,
I like that character.
Riku. John, he's such a Nomura character.
I liked him. I thought he was like a little shit, and I thought that was kind of funny. But what if we gave him a sad backstory? And I didn't like any of that. And it's like a 2-hour dungeon. You go back into the sewers. It's the same fucking layout, and it's just. I was like, okay. But I was like, okay, it doesn't matter, because we're getting to Shinra HQ, one of my absolute favorite sections from the original Final Fantasy game. And I sat down like one Saturday night being like, okay, this is the final section of the game, I'm assuming. Let's do it. That section goes on for so long. Like, from the moment you decide to go to the moment you finish the game, I think it could take someone between anywhere, like maybe 5 hours if you really knew what you were doing and bombing through, but it took me easily closer to 10. And it's here where the game really kind of descended just into a hallway RPG, you know? And if you play a lot of JRPGs, you probably know what I mean by like a hallway RPG, where it's like hallway enemies, hallway enemies, hallway enemies. And there was a lot of stuff they added in. They added in like an entire new section where you're trapped by Hojo and you end up in an insane laboratory, and that's where for me like the enemy reuse becomes the worst part of the game, because you fight these creatures. I think they're called abominations or hybrids or something like that, and they're not in the original game at all as far as I'm aware, or if they have, they've totally fucked up the designs because I don't recognize them. But they're the most generic alien looking. These could be enemies in Mass Effect, these could be enemies in Doom Eternal, these could be just generic sci-fi enemies in any game. I'm not shitting on Mass Effect or Doom Eternal, I just mean they're so generic they could fit into any game. And it sucks, because what stands out to me about the enemy designs of Final Fantasy VII is they're these big, bold shapes. And part of that's because they had to be back then, you know what I mean? They had to just carve these enemies out from these fucking big chunks of polygon. But what I love about some of the designs of like Remake is seeing those designs reinterpreted with modern technology. And these new designs, they're just the spooky aliens from any science fiction game, and it sucks because that section goes on for so fucking long. It's not like there isn't high points, there is. Red 13's great. He's not in the game a lot, he's not playable, but like his dialogue's good. Him and Barra are very good. There's a fight with Rufus, the president, the vice president of Shinra, President Shinra's son, that is just like pitch perfect. Like, him and Cloud are so weirdly horny for each other, and it's amazing. But all that said, like the last section, it really did drag down my opinion of the game in a way that was kind of really devastating, honestly, because I do love this game, but like it has such glaring weak points, and by the end of it I was like, okay, can we just finish the game now? Can I just see what the thing at the end is that everyone's talking about? And I think like it's here where I have to start getting into like major spoilers for the rest of Final Fantasy VII. So if you check the description, we'll have a time code where you can skip in if you want to skip this. I'm going to give people a few seconds. Okay, so there's a moment when an elevator opens up in the Shinra mansion and a little black feather falls down on the ground in front of Cloud. And I saw that, and I lurched forward in my seat, and I just said, no. That'll make sense in a little bit. But anyway, you get to the Shinra mansion. A lot of it's very padded out. They actually cut out a section where you're captured by Shinra, which again is one of my favorite sections in the original because it forces the characters into these little cells and you get to hear all their like weird conversations together, and Aeris realizes you're in the same cell as Tifa, and that's kind of fun. And then Barra and Red 13 have like a little quabble, and it's great. That's gone. But anyway, what do you two know about the end of this game?
Sephiroth.
Do you know anything, Niamh?
No.
Okay. So Sephiroth appears a lot throughout this game, and I was really trying to give those moments the benefit of the doubt. You know, I really like in the original game how they build Sephiroth, and Sephiroth's absence for the first part of that game is really important, I think. And I knew they weren't going to do that. And I was like, you know what? In fairness, you can't do that again. You can't create that mystique around that character in the same way because he's been the poster boy for Square RPGs for the last fucking 20 years. So I get it to a point, okay? But when I saw that black feather, that's not a Final Fantasy VII thing. That's an Advent Children thing.
Sure is.
So you get to the end of the game, you get to the like that part on the peak where you're after beating Roadroller, and then Sephiroth shows up. And the whisper shit goes into complete overdrive. The whispers are the ghosts that have been like around this the entire way through. But now it's the point where like characters are dying, like Barrett dies and the whispers fly into him and heal him. Wedge survives the tower, and then I think the whispers kill him. But to the point where I'm just starting to feel like, oh, fucking hell, like, this game, like, these characters don't have any, like, it feels like the characters don't have any onus in these situations because, like, they're being controlled by destiny. And I get the subtext. I get that these are these are the fans. These are the asshole fans of Final Fantasy VII, like me, who are going to be like, oh, they're changing it. And, like, I get it. And I think that's a really clever idea. I think its implementation is fucking dog shit in this game. It's so frustrating. So then you learn that... So then, anyway... You fight, Sephiroth appears at you in front of, like, you know, just before the big Midgar escape. He appears at the end of the highway. He opens up a portal, and then all the characters start talking in Kingdom Hearts. They start being like, can we really fight destiny? And it turns into this big thing where now destiny is the enemy. Fate is the enemy. The gods of reality are the enemy. And I fucking hate that kind of storytelling. It's one of my least favorite kind of storytelling in JRPGs because I don't think it's interesting. I think we live in a world where 100% of conflict comes from other people. I think that's enough. I think when you start getting into fighting fate and destiny, it stops being a story about people and it starts just being this fucking just smorgasbord of like everything is anything and anything is everything and everything is nothing because things just stop meaning anything. That's what the last like 3 hours of this game are. It's Cloud running through a giant city in the sky, collapsing around him, fighting weird fucking like ghosts.
Cool.
And a big giant ghost in the so you know the first boss fight from Kingdom Hearts?
Yeah. The big tentacle monster, yeah.
It's that. Yeah, it's that. It's a big monster in the background and you're fighting his little things and like just it feels like reality loses all context, okay? And nothing means anything anymore because it's like Cloud is like slashing at this like giant hand and it's like, but look at the size of this monster, this should be able to kill him, like this is fucking stupid, you know? And it just felt so flat. and then it ends, and then like you get through all that, and then you fight Sephiroth. You and your party fight Sephiroth, and he has a wing because he's a one-winged angel. Right now, I know there's people listening to this and they're saying, listen, there's actually a lot to this ending, and you maybe should like look up those and like read up what this ending's actually about. And here's the thing, I understand every single fucking thing that's happening in this ending, or that's at least heavily theorized to be happening. Would you guys like to hear what is actually happening
yes,
here?
But before you say this, I absolutely hate that someone's enjoyment of a story would be hinged on looking for like explainers outside of it. But yes, please tell me.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I'm going to assume our audience is pretty fucking cool for the most part, and so I don't imagine people are being shitty about it, but I do imagine there's people being like, oh, but there's actually a lot to this, and you should check it out, and it's interesting. And what's happening here is that this isn't Sephiroth. This is the Sephiroth from Advent Children, and he is going back in time to stop the events of original Final Fantasy VII happening, because that means that he will never die. He will not be defeated. And there's moments where it flashes forward to scenes from Advent Children. There's basically these three ghosts you fight, and one of them has two guns, one of them has a sword, and one of them fights with his fists with a massive gauntlet. Those are the Advent Children. Those are the spirits of the Sephiroth clones from Advent Children.
Oh,
Does that
yes,
make sense?
the three silver-haired kids. Yeah.
Lutz, Kadaj, and the other one. Yeah. And so what's happening is Sephiroth is going back and changing the events of Final Fantasy VII. He's changing the fans' memories of the game. And when you take that into account, what I would say is I don't fucking care. I've listened to the podcast. I've read all the because I am that invested in Final Fantasy VII. I understand all this stuff. No part of what I'm saying, I'm not saying this stuff doesn't make sense. If anything, I think the way they've in isolation, the way they've constructed this stuff is clever, and a lot of thought has gone into it. My problem is when you come out the other side of it, I don't see how it's a good story. I don't see what it's saying that's good. And you might say, oh, well, in the next game they're going to justify it, or in the game after that they're going to justify it. I don't give anyone that much faith, and even if they do, I don't think anyone is ever nothing could justify how fucking bad I think the ending of this game is and how weak the storytelling is. Like, to me, and like, Niamh, I know you disagree with this, I really enjoyed a lot of the character stuff from this game. I love the high five shit. I liked Cloud's shitty reactions. I liked a lot of that stuff, and all that stuff disappears into this just like big meta narrative, but I don't think the meta narrative is well done. Like, I think that you have to actually have a physical force in the game that is literal destiny moving the characters around. I just don't get that. And I get that it's fun to theory craft this stuff. I get that it's fun to speculate and like build your theories, and if you're right, I bet it feels really good, but I also, that's not storytelling to me.
Welcome to Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, I know, and like, I get that there are people out there where they absolutely love that, and like, I'm not even saying like they're wrong. I think if that is your thing, this is the perfect game for you. To me, it takes away so much out of the end of this game, and it adds so little, and it's honestly kind of devastating. And it's weird because like I am disappointed, but I'm disappointed in a way where I came at this game expecting nothing, and then like it so far surpassed my expectations on so many different levels, only to kind of come crashing down like in the last 10 hours. And like it's kind of fucked me up, honestly. Like, I care so much about this game, and I do love this game, but I hate what they did with it, and I hate where they went.
Sounds like a troll.
That said, it's like, I think that's an kind of easy way of looking at it, but I don't think it's a troll. I think this is really the game they genuinely wanted to make.
Oh my
and to
God.
a degree, I respect it. Like, I honestly do. I think like the fact that they are willing to mess with stuff is brave and interesting. And it's not the concept that bothers me, it's the execution. I feel like it could have been done so much subtler and so much better. Like, when the end, Red 13 is practically looking into the camera being like, these ghosts control destiny. It's bad. Like, it's fucking bad. And like, what they've taken away is like, you know, the mystique of Sephiroth. They're telling a completely different story now, and they're replacing it with something I really don't think is worthwhile. And so then afterwards, at the very end of the game, you see a cutscene, and it's Zack, and he's fighting the troops from Midgar, you know, protecting Cloud, and he's about to die. But then he kills the last one, and he's like, oh, that's all of them. I did it. You okay, Cloud? And so now Zack is alive in this universe.
What?
And what I would say is like, okay, like that's interesting. Like that's fine. I hope they'll, you know, like do some good stuff with that. And also, if you want to break these characters free from their destiny, like, and break them free from the original storyline, and you want to address that in a meta way, sure, that's super fucking interesting. Again, it's the execution of it all that bothers me, and that execution is so weak, it does make me worried where they're going at. Because I swear to God, if in 8 years we get to Cloud and Zack performing a dual Omnislash on a Sephiroth or Sephiroths, fuck this. Like, that's not... Like, this is just fan wank. This is just the series doubling over backwards and sucking its own dick. You know?
Yeah.
So, your fear was that it was going to be Advent Children, and it turns out it is.
No, Advent Children has a story. Like I
but
mean,
Niamh itself.
I'm not a huge Advent Children's fan, but it does have a 3-act structure and a narrative. You know what I mean?
I watched that film before playing the game, and I thought that's what the game was meant to be the entire time.
I think my exact worry was I was like, I don't want a prequel to Advent Children. This is 100% a prequel to Advent Children. And like, there's moments I did like, you know, at one point Cloud fucking flashes forward in time, and it goes to the part where it's him and Sephiroth one-on-one at the end of Final Fantasy VII, and Cloud attempts the Omnislash, and Sephiroth blocks every move of it. That's cool. That's genuinely fun piece of storytelling, interesting little nod to the original. Cloud is no longer enough to beat Sephiroth. Moments like that I did genuinely enjoy, but like, just the rest of it, I just thought it was kind of a train wreck. And like, I get people love this game, okay? Like, I get it. I get people are emotional about it. I'm just like, this is a thing where like, I'm just giving my honest to God reasons for it, and it's not the kind of thing where you can now explain to me why I didn't enjoy it, because like, I'm not looking to debate, you know what I mean? It's just like, this was my gut feeling playing this game, and I really don't think anything's going to change that. That's kind of me and Final Fantasy VII Remake. I have been fucked up for a couple of days thinking about all this.
I really don't know how you could have demotivated me to play this game less than all of that. Because
Niamh, like, I'm saying this as someone who does love this game, but I genuinely don't feel it's worth your time finishing it, because the problems you've had with it so far are going to get so much worse. And I don't think... you'll like Rufus. Rufus is really cool. They've made him, like, 400% sexier. But
I'm
like,
sure I will. Like, there
moments...
is, like... I like some of the character moments, like... And I do like these characters. I'm just, like... I'm just kind of sad about Final Fantasy as a series. Like, this was my favorite series because I honestly thought it brought some of the best writing in the RPG genre to the table, and I just really hate that it's become this like nostalgia has has twisted everything into be this kind of meta commentary consistently, and how that's kind of presented to people as being really deep, and actually, you know, there's actually a lot to it if you listen to this really long explainer about it. And it's just like, I care about emotional character connections and good storytelling as well, and this, like, I don't know, I think I'm out of Final Fantasy.
Well, like, what I want from games, and I think what a lot of people want from games and just stories, is something that speaks to them personally. You know, something that like really makes them think about who they are, makes them reconsider things differently. I like to go into a story and I like to come out of it a little different, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, not to get too fucking corny, but there's very few games that had, like, a profound effect on me as the original Final Fantasy VII. And so coming out of this and it turning into a vehicle for meta fan theory was devastating, you know? And
I'm sorry, John.
That's okay. I know things are bad when you guys start being nice to me on this podcast.
I do feel bad for you because, like, yeah, like, because, like, Squall, like, my relationship to 8 is very similar to your relationship to 7, and this would devastate me as well.
Yeah, well, thank you, Niamh. That's very sweet. But, like, and, like, I'm okay. Like, it's just, it's just weird. And, like, for all that, I do like the game. I love the game, you know? Like, it's still probably going to be my favorite game of the year. I don't think you guys need to worry about me, like, pushing it too hard, you know what I mean? Because I do think there's big glaring flaws, but I can't deny how much I loved it when I was playing it, but just, like, just seeing what it turned into was, like, it was exactly what I didn't want. And it's so fucking weird.
I feel like we've all had these moments. Like, I remember just watching Rise of the Skywalker and just with my head in my hands and being like, oh no. And, like, I feel like this is your moment.
It is, and I'm still on board, and I'm still going to get the next game. And that's when I realized that I'm a fucking Kingdom Hearts fan.
I wonder what they're going to do with the releases of this. Like, will this be something like Kingdom Hearts obviously went across, like, it wasn't just console games, it went to handhelds. Like, will this be a multimedia property? Like, will Final Fantasy VII Remake...
Did you see Nomura's recent statements?
No.
He said that he's going to break the game into smaller chunks so that the wait isn't as long.
More money. Great.
Like, it's literally Kingdom Hearts. He's just, the cycle begins anew.
So I shouldn't play this game.
It's pretty good. You should play it.
Battle system, Brian, it's pretty good.
I was happy enough with the PlayStation 1 game, just doing the Midgar bit. That was satisfactory.
So to summarize, 9 out of 10 would highly recommend. So, you guys want to talk about some news?
Sure thing.
Yeah. I think I need a break. I think I want to get a cup of tea.
Yeah, I'm gonna pee.
You know what? Let's all take a break, and we'll be back with some Quicktime Events.
Brian Street's back. All right.
Okay, I'm back.
We all here?
Yay.
Okay. So
What are you laughing at, Niamh?
Oh, sorry, I looked at our poll.
okay, so yeah, but before we get into video game news, let's just give a breakdown of who's who. At 18%, we have Chiquita Banana. At 32%, we have Cadbury Caramel Bunny. And at 50%, we have the Michelin Man.
Oh, man, okay. I mean, there's obviously a lot about the human condition I don't quite grasp.
He would throw down in a sex fight.
Okay, fuck, marry, kill with these three.
Okay, I think I can do this pretty easy. Marry Michelin Man, fuck Bunny, and kill Banana.
Oh shit. Brian?
For me, I would marry Chiquita Banana, I would fuck Caramel Bunny, and I would kill the Michelin Man.
Okay, I would fuck Chiquita Banana, kill Caramel Bunny, and marry Michelin Man.
We're all so different.
I feel like Michelin Man can offer me safety.
Safety, speed, and reliability.
I don't trust him. I think that's why I'm attracted to him.
So guys, Quicktime Events.
Quicktime Events.
Quicktime Events.
Oh, Nintendo! This has been some fucking episode. Nintendo confirms 160,000 accounts accessed in a huge privacy breach.
Yes. This was a rumor for ages, and Nintendo wouldn't say anything public until they knew exactly what it was and had the amount of accounts that were breached. I don't think this affected Nintendo European accounts. I think it's mainly American accounts, and all they would have had access to was your username, your email, and your date of birth. I think it doesn't have any credit card information. None of that was affected. But
I don't want the Deep Nest to have that info.
No, absolutely not. Yeah, because do you remember what it was 10 years ago that there was the Sony one, but that actually released credit card information and stuff like that and addresses.
Oh yeah.
That was real bad. It's nothing as bad as that, but when you hear about this stuff, your mind kind of goes to that place where you're like, oh shit.
I keep being like, oh, I should change my password, but then I use a password manager and it's a big stupid random bunch of We'll see. Huge Last of Us 2 leak and a new release date.
Yeah, it's going to be out June 19th, which is about 6 weeks away.
So this is after it having its indefinite postponement.
How much do you think the leak had to do with the release date?
Everything.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, they absolutely jumped in front of it and they're just like, all right, let it out and die now. Niamh and I both read the spoilers and not a big fan.
The leak was devastating. It's we're not going to obviously say too much about it, but it was large chunks of the game with huge pieces of gameplay and just assholes on the internet posting it under everything they could find about the game, just even in people's streams not playing the game, just any way to make people see these spoilers. They were kind of unavoidable if you're into online internet shit and video game stuff.
Because I sought it out. I was like, well, I'm not that invested, I'll just take a look. And then I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. The first day it came out, it was just everywhere.
So can I tell you my theory of what's going to happen in Last of Us 2?
Go for it.
Sure.
Okay, and this has nothing to do with any of the spoilers I've seen. This is just one thing I think they're gonna do. So Joel and Ellie are having this massive fight, right? And it gets so intense that they nearly come to blows, but then at the last second, Ellie turns around and she's like, I'm done. And she walks outside. But the moment she walks outside, this little black feather floats down in front of her and lands at her feet.
I heard that the clicker zombies in this actually represent the fans, and they're...
We've said too much. Ghost of Tsushima release date July 17th.
Yeah, so this is a month later. Or after The Last of Us 2.
How into that game, you guys?
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll play it. I'll play anything, and it looks pretty. But
I feel like this might be my big Western AAA game of the year to play for 4 hours and be like, eh.
Yeah.
I'd
be more interested in playing this than The Last of Us 2 now.
Yeah, I think me too.
Me too.
Deadly Premonition, the 2 releases on July 10th. Well, fucking tough luck, Ghost of Tsushima.
This is so cool.
Poor Sucker Punch. Imagine selling 0 copies of your game.
This is just so great that it's coming out so soon. I'm so surprised. They only announced that last year?
I think they released a big trailer, big new trailer, which I haven't watched because I'm just all you needed to say was Deadly Premonition 2.
Mm-hmm. One of the preview trailers that they've put out is just a nice music video, basically. So there's nothing too much in it.
Just a tone piece.
Just a tone piece. But I'm super excited for this game.
Me too. I think Brian, are you gonna play this or what are you feeling?
Who knows? Probably not, but also that's not my correct answer.
Okay, that's good stuff. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is announced.
They did
you want to take this one?
Yeah, they did a big kind of teaser thing with the artwork of Boss Logic, where he was drawing the reveal cover art live on stream, and it was what the leak had said earlier. It's Vikings and it's called Valhalla. You can play as male or female character again, which seems to be a thing they will be doing from now on, which is cool, which is great. It seems to be a lot more character customization as well, like you can do hair and tattoos. So it's kind of like, honestly, maybe the next game will just have a full-on character creator where you can just like play around with it. It is mostly going to be set in the UK, and I presume Ireland will show up, since the boat part of the Vikings is a big aspect of this game as well, and Ireland is just right around the corner. So I am personally excited to experience like a more British Islesy environment rendered in that way, because the best things you can say about Odyssey and Origins were they were really beautiful looking games, and I had a lot of fun in those photos modes as well as playing them. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of our British Isles animals rendered in a AAA video game. Which I know is a very specific thing to me, but I'm excited about it.
I want a stag. I want to hunt some deer.
Yeah.
I'd love a great Irish elk. Although I think great Irish elks were extinct at that point.
I don't think they were.
Crazy.
That's one of the interesting things. There's a lot of animals that are like extinct in Ireland and the UK that would have been alive around this time, like lynx and wolves and bears, and even like maybe the great Irish deer and stuff. So it's like, it'll be cool to see those animals in an environment like ours when they just don't exist anymore.
And it's cool because if you do look up the history of Ireland, the Vikings actually did come over and do a bunch of side quests and get a bunch of achievements.
They really did.
Yeah, a real footnote in Irish history.
Yeah. Nothing too horrific or traumatizing there at all.
Yeah, there is something to be said of Ubisoft's very, light grasp of history with this. Like, even the trailer, it's just like, they say they were fierce and violent, but then like one of the Vikings stops you, like the other Viking, from murdering a woman and a child, and it's just kind of this like, they were good Vikings, and you're like, okay.
I'm sure that happened. I'm sure that happened once.
Yeah.
But yeah. And in the biggest news of the day, WWE Battlegrounds.
What's this?
Okay, so you know, WWE 2K20 came out last year. Everyone loved it. Praise across the board. A critical darling, I think is the term.
The perfect game.
It was the perfect game, and it was so good that the 2K are taking a year off this year to make the next one even better. But they have employed the developers of NBA Playgrounds to create a brand new wrestling game. And have you guys seen what this looks like?
Are they like chibified? Do they have big heads?
That's kind of a nice way of putting it, but yeah.
I'm gonna just drop this in the chat real quick.
Okay.
It's only 25 seconds long.
Here we go, everyone.
So Brian, just watch this and just give us your live reaction as you go.
Okay. All right, so. Oh, okay. That's the. Hey, that's not a wrestler. That's a crocodile or an alligator. Oh, wait, what? Are they? How come the women don't look like
what? Yeah, what is going on with those women designs?
Because
they look like troll dolls.
They do. I can understand the translation of the male character wrestlers, but not the female character wrestlers.
It's like they just wanted to do something with the female wrestlers, but they didn't want to like muscle them up, I guess, and they just made them bizarre.
They look like babies wearing spandex.
They do.
With long hair.
How do you feel about it, Niamh?
The babies in spandex. It's kind of pure nightmare fuel, but I hope it works as well as their last game, because I think it could make some very good internet fodder, because it already looks terrible.
So a lot of people are saying this is like a kind of spiritual sequel to WWE All-Stars, which kind of had a similar vibe but was actually a really fun game, and I'd love it to be the same as that. It's a totally different development team, so we'll see.
It just looks like a shitty mobile game.
That was it does a little bit. So I just thought that was worth mentioning. Okay. Let's say we move on to emails.
Did you hear that? That was someone sending us an email. Okay, here we go. This is from Zach. School has been closed in this new world of lockdown. This has somehow made my English teacher even scarier than before. Her gentle reminders to send her work definitely have a murderous tone. Do you guys remember any teacher that you were afraid of or were generally just mean? Stay healthy, you dingai. Plural of dingus.
Thanks, Zach.
Well, I thought that was a lovely email
thanks,
right until the end, and now I don't know what to think.
Just use a very hurtful word.
Very hurtful word.
I like scary teacher stories. I went to a very small primary school, so that's the school you're in from the ages of like 6 to 12. And I think that's definitely what I was most scared of teachers, because I found in secondary school and from college onwards I wasn't scared of them anymore.
You kind of realize they're people.
Yeah, they're just people who just really don't care. Or sometimes they care too much and you're like, why? Anyway, this is a story that I remembered, and it is a mixture of a scary teacher but also a scary parent combo. In which a bunch of, and I wasn't part of this, but they were people in my class, and a bunch of 12-year-olds said to another 12-year-old, ask your mom what a blowjob means.
Oh no.
And so the kid did that, and the mom came in the next day and said, I brought in the kid and lined up everyone, and nobody knew how to handle this. And it was great for me because I wasn't affected by this at all, and it was hilarious.
So
but it was
did the teachers know what she was doing?
I think she rang up in advance and said, I'd like to come in and handle this. I'd like to witness this. But the mother took over from the teacher and started like pressuring the children into like explaining like, why would you ask this of my son to me?
That's so weird and frightening.
Yeah, and the teacher was trying to handle it as well, and I think it ended up, from what I remember, this is years ago now, but it ended up with the teacher and the mother getting in a bigger argument and the principal coming in, and we had to leave the classroom.
Oh, that poor kid.
And I don't know if that kid ever found out what a blowjob was, but you know, that wasn't the point of the story at the end.
Never. Until this day, he just does not know.
Actually,
imagine he's like with his like partner, and they're like, you know, I think I know something that could make you feel better, and he's just like, no.
Actually, it was real funny because this is such 12-year-old kid stuff, but one of them was like, you don't know what a blowjob is? Like, clearly nobody knew what it was. And the kid was being like, I don't know. And they were like, you should ask your mom. And he was like, okay. Because, like, completely innocent. Probably thought it was a hairdryer or something. And I think another kid said, you should also ask your mom what a snow job is. I just thought that was really stupid. And that's exactly what a 12-year-old would say.
Jesus Christ. Okay. Niamh, why don't you take this next one from Kyle? Animation at the top of the docket.
Oh no, my docket has disappeared. I have it, don't worry. Hey Boss Cat, it seems to me that most of the movies and televisions you discuss are live action. That struck me as somewhat interesting since you're all animators. Of course, that might be simply be because more live action works are made in general, but I thought it would be neat to hear about your preferences. Do you tend to prefer live action for certain formats, genres, moods, etc.? Follow-up questions for fun. What live action show or film would you like to see animated? What animated show or film would you like to see in live action? Thanks for your time and for your entertaining and insightful podcast. From Kyle.
Thanks, Kyle.
I think there's just a lot more live action media, and especially like aimed at like our age group. You know, you don't get a lot of animations kind of made for adults, and you're starting to see more. I started watching that Midnight Gospel recently. That show's a lot of fun.
I still haven't watched it. It's meant to be great.
It's fucking
I think a lot of adult animation is just dick jokes with no real meaning behind them.
Yeah, for me, it's like animation usually doesn't cover the genres I kind of gravitate towards, which would be like horror and thrillers and kind of more character-driven stuff. And I think that's a pity because I think it would be a great medium for horror. But
I think we'll get there eventually. I think someday someone is going to make some fucking awesome-ass piece of horror animation and we'll just be there and animation will have... But like, yeah, it's never really happened yet.
Yeah.
The South Korean animated film that's a companion to Train to Busan is very good. I can't remember. Seoul Station, that's really, really good. I recommend that.
Cool. And just like in general, I think a lot of like animation and anime is like aimed at a younger audience, usually, you know? So like there's so much stuff I can watch anymore that's like set in a high school. You know, the older I get, the more that I just can't relate. And even though it does like some great stuff or it might be interesting, I usually tend to watch maybe the first 2 episodes just to see what it looks like, because I obviously enjoy looking at animation, but I just I don't relate, I guess, to a lot of it anymore.
I think another part of it as well is like when you work in animation, or when you've like spent a lot of time working in animation or talk about animation or whatever, it kind of engages a different part of your brain when you like watch it and you're seeing how they do it, and you see like, you know, trying to figure out what software they used, how they handle compositing, what way the backgrounds are done. And
yeah, it makes it take about work and you can't switch it off.
It's nice, like especially if you're tired, you just want to stick on just some shitty horror movie and just kind of waste away in front of that for a couple of hours.
Yeah, I think as well, like I remember the very first day of animation college, I met this guy and he was talking about the Simpsons movies, and he was just like did you notice that the leaves were on 4 frames instead of 2? Like, what a cop-out. And I remember thinking at the time, wow, I hope I never can recognize that, and I hope I'm never you. And now it's a thing where I watch animation and I can see things, you know, because you look at it from such a production standpoint now that you're just like, sometimes the story slips past you because your brain is focused on other things.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What live action show or film would you like to see animated?
Like
none.
I like animations to play to the strength of animations. I like live actions to play to the strengths of live action. It's not really often I'm like, oh, an animated version of this would be cool.
It's cool seeing fan art. That's about it, really.
Yeah, I love fan art.
In 2D drawings.
Yeah. I'd love maybe something like Annihilation, where there's a lot of really striking visuals that I think could work in animation and look really pretty. Like there's like one of those scenes in Annihilation where it's kind of like a man is kind of smeared on a wall and he's become like flowers and fungus and stuff. And, you know, I think that could look really nice as a drawn image.
Yeah, I think when you start getting into like sci-fi touching on horror, there is stuff. Like I'd like to see like It animated, like more so the book than the movies. I think you could have a lot of fun with Pennywise with something like that. But yeah, how about you, Brian?
Yeah, nothing off the top of my head, to be honest.
And what animated show or film would you like to see in live action?
Ooh, that's a weird one.
I wouldn't mind seeing like a live action Samurai Jack. That could be kind of fun. Because so much of that show is like the visuals. But sorry, Brian, what were you gonna say?
I'm trying to think of something good that I like animated that I'd like. That's tough.
I don't know. I'd like to see them do Steven Universe just because they would fuck it up so much and it would look it's so weird that everyone would just be annoyed by it and horrified by it.
Yeah, I'd like to see a live action Kirby.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Sure. Oh.
Yeah.
But done in like the Detective Pikachu Sonic the Hedgehog way.
Yeah.
Where you just have like your actor acting beside a CGI Kirby.
I mean, at this point, I wouldn't rule it out.
It might happen, yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Be careful for what you wish for with this, because I don't know. I don't think anything's safe.
Yeah.
Okay. And we got another email on animation here. Hello, Niamh, Brian, and John. Hope the confinement isn't weighing you down too much after nearly 7 weeks. And thank you so much for continuing to bring us all this wonderful podcast in these difficult times. Seriously, I look forward to these episodes maybe twice as much now. A good friend of mine recently told me that she's unable to feel anything through the medium of animation. Not just anime, I completely understand that's not everyone's cup of tea, but any type of animation, from Pixar movies to Ghibli films to any style of animation in between. She says she has troubles relating to characters when they're not played by actors. I find this position so interesting because animation is perhaps my favorite medium of storytelling. I see it almost as the ultimate way of expression, since she knows I feel that way, and because she felt twinges of genuine emotion a couple of times watching animation, and also because she's very nice, she asked me to show her some animated stuff, help her feel why I love it so much. This is why I came to you. As animators and fans of animation, have you ever heard of something like this before? Someone saying they can't empathize through animation. Maybe not the right choice of words in this situation. In this situation, would you have any suggestions for what we could watch? I don't want to take advantage of her goodwill and show her too many things if she doesn't get into it, or turn her off of animation because a poorly chosen film, shorter series. Finally, what would you say makes animation special to you? Thanks for everything. I hope you all get through the confinements okay. In case you do answer this email, thank you so much. You'll have made my entire week. Good luck and stay strong, Mateo.
That's an interesting question.
Wicked City.
Yeah.
Wicked City's pretty good.
Yeah, Mateo, you're a cool dude.
Don't show her Wicked City.
I think it's just a personal thing. Oh, no. I think it's like such a personal thing where emotion is expressed so differently. Like, I think I prefer live action nearly for this reason, as well as like I can relate to subtlety of emotion so much more. Like, you know, nearly someone not reacting is more emotionally powerful sometimes because of what the emotions that are expressed on their face. You know what I mean? Like, if you watch Toni Collette and just a wave of emotions will pass by on her face in a few seconds, and that just really hits really strong. And in an animation, the thing that works with animation is you can heighten emotion. So you will like see, I don't know, tears fly in the wind. You know, you'll see big tears that look like rain and shit, and you'll have people scream and they'll be cry, and because it's like the emotion is pushed so much. And I think that works for people as well, and I think it's just a personal preference kind of thing, and I can see why one would work for her and one wouldn't, because I would be of the same opinion. I find it way more easy to relate to live action like emotions. And I find when emotion hits me in animation, it's less about the character moment and more about it all coming together, like the music and the character and just the way it's all framed. And that really hits me, and less about the individual character expressing emotion, if you get me.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. I think part of it could definitely be personal preference. I think another part of it as well can be just sometimes I feel like the more you experience of a medium, like the more of a grasp you have of it, the more I think you can maybe like
tap into it like faster. You kind of know the tropes of the medium.
Like, so I'd say like the first, I think if the first time someone watched like a film, they're not going to find a camera move emotional.
No, because there's too much going on.
Like that might not.
Yeah, and they've nothing to compare it against, maybe.
Yeah. And like, you know, it's interesting going back and watching Sopranos, because like so much of that show is like what they point the camera at to show what a character is thinking. And I think stuff like that is kind of, now obviously no one's new to live action except like babies, but just like to say, for example, if you haven't watched a lot of live action stuff, like I think some of that stuff will be lost on you. And in the same way, like if this person hasn't watched a lot of animation in their time, maybe they're just not used to like the language of it, and that is something they could develop more so. And like I'm not talking about like, oh, I understand this so much better, but more just like I think you can read more into like the emotional side of something the more you watch it, and the more you learn why people do what they do in it, and like the way a kind of visual language forms. And so like it could just be a case of them being exposed to more stuff and seeing it, and like especially if they're watching Pixar movies and feeling like twinges of emotion, it's like obviously they feel something, and maybe it's just they do need to see more stuff from the media if that's what they want, you know. Like I don't find like or and be emotional at all, really. But maybe if I listen to more of it, I would. But I also know I never will, because I just don't enjoy it on a surface level.
Yeah, fair enough.
What do you think, Brian?
I'm trying to think of like movies I've shown to my parents that I'd show that were animated, because like you know how you have family members that wouldn't really watch animated films except growing up as a kid. I remember showing Summer Wars to my parents and they really liked it, just because there's something in that movie for everyone. But like, I don't know if it would move someone emotionally. It does have some good emotional beats to it, but like, I think it's just finding something you're related to and connecting to it that way.
I think Princess Mononoke and Spirited Away are both great ones to show people who might not be like
they're just very strong films.
Because I just feel like they're real classics, and there's a lot of, I think, like especially I think like Princess Mononoke does a lot of stuff with a heart that I don't think a lot of stuff does, and I think anyone can kind of relate to those ideas.
Yeah, Spirited Away for me, I think Into the Spider-Verse really hits on those emotional levels.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, totally. That's a great one.
And like, to me, that's just one of the best all-round animated movies you can watch. I'm a big fan of Inside Out, and it's about emotion, so maybe that, if she hasn't seen it.
Yeah, Inside Out's brilliant.
The first 2 seasons of Digimon really hit hard sometimes, and I know they're doing they're doing a retelling of the first 2 seasons of Digimon now, and it's animated beautifully, so maybe get into that. And I really like Carol and Tuesday.
I watched the first episode of that.
It looks great.
It looks like an anime.
Hands off Izoken. That's great. I'm just really, really emotionally invested in those characters.
But we're invested in that because we care about animation. I don't think someone who didn't give a shit about animation and found it hard to empathize with it as concept, it mightn't be the best one to go into.
No. So I definitely find out what your friend likes on a personal level, and then find an animated show that's about that matter.
This might not work for your friend, but after years and years of showing Michelle shonen anime and being like, see, and it just like having no effect at all, Hunter x Hunter was the first thing that really made her give a shit about a series and get really attached to the characters. Might be a good one, but like you'll probably know from like your friend and what she's into. Just a bit of a slow burn at the start is the only thing. Guys, I think that's going to do it for emails.
Yes. Actually, we didn't say our email address. It's askletsfightaboss@gmail.com.
That's askletsfightaboss@gmail.com. Guys, let's say we move into our Patreon shoutouts.
Here we go. The most serious part of the podcast, the Patreon drop.
Thank you for your continued support with Patreon during this kind of difficult time. It really means a lot to us. So
it really does.
Yeah, it's nuts. Like I'm looking at how many patrons we have, and wow, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's fucking
Holy
awesome.
shit.
I was continue to be blown away by people's support. Niamh, if someone per se wanted to contribute to the Bosscast, how? Like, is there even a way, or does this section just make no sense at all?
Okay, you go outside and you start throwing like bird food on the floor. And the first bird that flies down, you grab it by the neck.
Okay.
And you shove $3 down its throat, and you send it on its way, and it will find us.
Excellent. Okay, good stuff. Brian, just a
birds
real
work.
quick check. Is there any other way? Like, I think is there another way? Or...
I don't think technology has advanced far enough that there's another option.
Okay, moving on into
birds.
loose patreon.com/LFAB. Thank you so much to everyone who supported us. It's always fucking awesome to see. And you can also have your message read out like this. From Choco Lope, the last parasocial relationship you'll ever need. I mean, true. Brian, why don't you take this next one?
And this is from Forest President. I wish to be £0. You're beautiful and special at any pounds.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I totally agree. You can just be a weightless gas Forest President and it'll still be glorious.
Okay, then I really, really wanted this one. It's Noah's Ark of Atheism. Such a good name. I can't think of a better way to finish Dead Rising for the first time than listening to Jam talk about his butt surgery for 10 minutes. 10 out of 10. That's a lot of 10s.
So that's a section of the podcast I have literally no memory of at all, but I will also bet that it exists.
I didn't know that was said publicly. Holy shit.
But like, it has to have been, because I do have stories about butt surgery, and we do have a podcast, so how else would Noah's Ark of Atheism have found out about it?
Yeah, I really, really like our Discord. There's some fun stuff going on down there. I recently had to make a new emoji for them, which is a lasagna wearing a skirt. I'm not sure why they needed that, but they are delighted with it, and so I'm happy if they're happy.
Oh,
sure things, guys.
Guys, what say we jump into a loot drop? Niamh, what do you got?
Mine is called Miscribe, the Harry Potter fandom's greatest con artist when posting goes wrong. And if you're a fan of stuff like Final Fantasy House, this is for you. This is a story about online communities and how insane they can get.
Brilliant.
It's a very good story.
I got the Wild World of Animal Crossing conspiracy theories. This is actually a Kotaku video, and I really liked it. It was really fun, and it's kind of just looking at all the weird theories about the strange things that happen in Animal Crossing, and like, it doesn't like, it kind of takes this melodramatic tone, but there is like a genuine like sense that this person just really likes mysteries and stuff, and I just thought it was kind of cute. Brian, what do you got?
Then I just have an album from Crystal Cola. The album's Late Night TV. This is one of the musicians on A Summer's End. It's just one of their albums, and as I was saying, I've been listening to the music all week, and this is the YouTube channel Local Visions. I think they're the label, but they just have a lot of the albums up on YouTube, and I've been shuffling through a lot of them the last couple of days, and they're great.
Guys, I think it's time to pull back the curtain and break the illusion.
The apology.
If you listen to the first part of this podcast, if all went according to plan, my audio actually got fucked up. So we lost about the first hour. So the first hour of this podcast is Niamh and Brian actually having a conversation, and then me recording my bits from the conversation and editing them in afterwards. I haven't done it yet, but I bet that it was really long and it was very infuriating.
So John is dubbing himself.
I am dubbing myself. I will be writing a script. I will be delivering dialogue. I will be acting as a fictionalized version of myself for the start of this podcast, and I hope everyone enjoys it.
I can't believe fake John is now canon in the lore of
me neither, but at the same time you just knew it was coming, right?
Yeah, it's going to be really
fucked
John. Up when fake John goes back in time to kill me and Brian to stop the events of the original Let's Fight a Boss from happening.
Oh, and I think we got to call it there. I don't think we're topping that. Goodbye, everybody.
No.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.